happens.
There we go.
There we go, guys. Sorry for those of you joining us late here on YouTube. Some sort of technical difficulty there, but we appreciate you being patient with us. We do a lot of things fairly well. Technology, that's one of them.
We're
kind of one.
It was
We're
nothing.
good
That
at
wasn't our fault. That was
we're
not our fault.
decent at it. Yeah, it's not our
We're
fault.
we do most things fairly well.
All this janky shit we try to use is what.
Yeah, man. I mean, it does. It is. Okay, here we go. The channel
Wes won't give us any
live.
budget for good software and stuff.
Yeah,
Listen, y'all wear the budget out. I'm telling you what. Every time I turn around, it's like signing this invoice, pay this bill.
Yeah,
yeah. Hey, Mike, will you pull up the Drag Illustrated site? You may have to change the embed link on the Drag Illustrated post just so that we don't miss anybody. I don't want to lose any of the fam here. While we do that, I want to remind everybody, it takes all of us. It takes a village, they say, to raise a child, and our child is drag racing. So help us spread the gospel of this sport by clicking like, clicking share, helping us spread the message. It makes a big difference each and every week, and we surely appreciate it. If nothing else, it makes me feel good. Are you, T?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now.
Dude, back up a little bit. What's that fire-ass sweatshirt you're wearing? What?
It's a throwback.
Oh, my God.
This
It's some of our best work.
Yeah.
Here we go. Dude, that is a vintage Drag Illustrated World Door Slammer Nationals hoodie from Orlando. 2020, I believe, was the year that we did those. You want to know where the inspiration came from?
I think that was 21.
It might have been 21. Was it 21? Yeah. I ripped it off of Justin Bieber's tour show or tour merch.
Oh,
Justin Bieber has fire tour.
Only Wes is getting inspiration.
Yeah, I'm taking it off now.
The Bieber tour.
Oh, dude, hey man,
did he just get caught with his pants down or something? Or I don't know.
No,
like, is that a saying or literally?
That was Antonio Brown.
No. I literally got a notification like today or yesterday that he got caught doing something.
No joke.
Never know with these guys.
I don't want to upset Wes though.
No.
Look at him over there. He's like,
well, I was worried about my boy, right?
Yeah, evidently.
Beebs and I are thick, you know. He texts me all the time, blows me up. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Really?
No, not really. I mean,
no.
Hey, dude, did you guys see this thing? I was just on the World Wide Web, which is full of information. And check this out. Ricky Smith, this is a bummer, has withdrawn from the NHRA Pro Mod field this coming weekend, not this coming weekend, I guess, next weekend at the NHRA Fall Nationals right down here in my backyard at the Texas Motorplex. And it's kind of got me in my feels a little bit. You know what I mean? Like does this mark the end? I think this is a question, and let's throw this to the gang in the comments here. Does this mark the end of Nitrous Cars in quarter mile pro mod competition? I mean, this is the last race of the season. Ricky Smith's on his retirement tour. Is this it? Is this Ricky Smith is done now?
It certainly looks that way. I actually had this conversation with Russell and Tyler Miller at Charlotte to just see what their plans were next year, and they're not sure at this time. But I mean, outside of them or someone new jumping into the fray, they may be all supercharged, pro-charged turbo cars. You know, boost rules, I guess, and it's going to be basically a quarter mile pro boost type of situation, really.
I stop now though. If this is your last year, though, I mean, like,
well, I don't know, Ricky. You know, we saw the decision with the D-Wagon deal earlier this year. Ricky marches to the beat of his own drum. We know that for sure. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I mean, I think some of it too. You know, he had a tough draw in the first round in St. Louis. Had run Chris Thorne. Ended up losing that round, and I think that he feels like he can't be competitive or he's out of it. But Dallas is 1.5 points being the final race of the season, and Josh Hatchett from NHRA hit us with some stats right before we came on air that said that Ricky's not mathematically out of it yet. That based on a couple scenarios, he could
out of the
win
championship hunt. Like to clarify, so I mean, he's what, third? Behind Stevie? Is that right?
I'm not sure. I got to pull it up.
I got to pull it up.
Hold on a second.
While you guys are pulling it up, the Bieber thing was
Ricky.
Somebody just caught him peeing at a golf tournament. So,
it was one.
The point standings following St. Louis is Chris Thorne is in first. Ricky is what about 65 points behind him?
I'm not very good at math. Hold on.
I was really sweating as I did that math in my head.
Yeah, he's 65. Hey, pretty good, Michael.
Appreciate that, guys.
65, man, 65 points back. And then Ricky. Okay, so then let me do further math.
37. Stevie's 37 back from Ricky.
615.
He's got a huge brain. I mean, look at the forehead.
Dude, there's a
I mean,
lot going on
there's
up there,
something
man.
in there.
But Stevie's 102 back. So, I mean, both of those guys, I think mathematically, it is crazy. Ricky's still in it to then decide not to come. There's a lot of stuff that I think kind of comes into play here. First and foremost, I do think that the NHRA, they let the parity thing go on too long. Like they let it be an issue for too long. And it's tough because I hear there's been a lot of conversation the last several weeks by NHRA racers or amidst NHRA Pro Mod racers like, man, we need to support the class. We need to support the class. Yeah, for sure. But that's kind of been the song and dance for 2 decades. You know what I mean? And I think that it's just tough.
It spells disaster or bad things, because this reminds me, you're talking about parody of IHRA Pro Mod in the mid 2000s when supercharged cars really started to pull away, and they didn't do enough quickly enough to save the nitrous cars. Kenny Nowling, ADRL sweeps in, part of the 8th Mile Outlaw movement at the time, and most heavy hitters in nitrous racing went 8th Mile racing with ADRL or with their local series. So we'll see what happens here. It'll certainly be a shame because the class was founded primarily by nitrous cars, and I think the cars are competitive, but I think that they feel like they're outgunned. Maybe it's a data thing as far as there's only 2 of them out there, both on the same team. I'm not sure. Maybe it's an R&D thing that they're not developing as quickly as the blown cars or pro charge cars. I don't know, man. I mean, because if you look at Proline, look at all the data they have at their disposal.
Yeah, and, I mean, they're making so many runs compared.
Literally, like almost a lot of runs being made out across the country kind of feed into the Proline data pool. And so I wonder if that's part of it too.
It's interesting, man, because I wonder like what would happen if I don't know. Sometimes I feel like we just maybe need some fresh eyes on it. You know, like no knock obviously against Ricky. I would argue that I've had before that he's perhaps the greatest of all time. And he's clearly, I mean, he's the go-to guy when it comes to like making your car go down the track, set your car up. Like he's the guy. I'm not trying to talk shit, talk out of turn
he's the
here.
best door car drag racer of all time. When you combine his pro stock and pro mod careers.
Yeah, no question. And Nancy's saying that the YouTube link's not working on the website, so we need someone to swoop in there and fix it, if you don't mind. But my whole thing on it is just that I agree. I don't want to see nitrous cars go away, but I also don't know how to. I don't know how to like put the rabbit back in the hat, so to speak. It feels like this ship has sailed, and it's going to take some significant new technology or some significant breakthrough, because I got to be honest, like watching St. Louis, I mean, it's hard not to. I mean, watching these cars go high 560s, 567, 569. I mean, I know how difficult that is to do, but they make it look so easy, right? And it's just so, I can't imagine how heartbreaking that is to be like, go out there and run a 575 like Ricky and be like, I've got to make the best run I've made all year.
I think that's
to
Ricky's
have a
argument.
chance.
Ricky has to be perfect and maybe even have the other guy have a slip up. And I think if you look at the numbers, if you look at where he qualified, you look at where he is in the points, it's probably not a good indicator of the competitiveness of that combination, because Ricky is able to make up for so much with his racing, with his racing skill and experience.
He's so good with it that like someone else is coming out. Yeah.
We saw that in the IHRA days, honestly, when Shannon Jenkins and Mike Castellana were so good that, and to an extent, Jim Halsey later, that they kind of covered up for the fact that the rest of the nitrous cars weren't keeping up. And I think that's why Ricky and his team car are the only 2 left. There's also the argument that, I mean, if you talk to Ricky, they're doing all they can, running the thing as hard as they can within reason. Ricky is not a racer that goes out and tears his stuff up. He runs on a budget. He races for a living. He runs his operation with that in mind. But if you ask anybody else that runs a different combination, they'll argue that the nitrous cars are not reaching their potential right now, and they could go quicker if they pushed them harder, which again, back to the IHRA days, we heard that in the mid 2000s. The blown cars. Their
How
argument
many
was
times did
that
we hear that phrase? Work harder.
Work harder.
You guys need to work harder. I always heard that. I mean, I remember on like the forum days, ProMod Zone, ProModSource.com, ProModifieds.us. That was almost always
got
the
heated in
argument
there.
from the blower guys and to the nitrous guys. You guys need to work harder. You need to work harder. But I feel like we're at the very near the end of like the product life cycle or whatever of nitrous racing. And I do think some fresh eyes would serve it well. Like I wonder what would happen if a Jim Halsey or Dean Marinas kind of comes to mind. I mean, I believe Dean Marinas lives at the top of the Drag Illustrated quarter mile top 8 for unlimited nitrous door slammers. He's made the quickest pass in the history of nitrous racing. Went like 5:57. Now, granted, that was like a lightweight, no rules, blah, 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 blah. But I do think the performance is there, but it does take a willingness to, as Stevie Jackson says, run the rods out of it. But it begs this whole question. It creates this whole scenario of, is that sustainable? I mean, it's tough because it's like, do you want to race at a professional level? You got to do what professional racers do. And that is run things on the ragged edge with their tongue hanging out every single time. And I don't think that fits Ricky Smith. I don't mean to put words in the man's mouth, but he's said it many times. Like he's not going to race like that. Mm-hmm. So it's tough because that is those things, those opinions or those perspectives compete with one another. Do you agree? Like,
oh, yeah.
you can't say that, hey, I will not race like that when everybody else is.
That's always been the case. And back to Shannon Jenkins and Mike Castellana, not only were they incredible racers and tuners and team owners, but they were willing to hang the rods out of their stuff, and they were willing to jet that thing up when the time came. And, I can speak from experience. We weren't in that position. We had to run within a budget, and I know a lot of other teams did. So again, it's always this back and forth, but it just seems like the technology favors forced induction, and the technology for those combinations are moving along much quicker than, essentially a nitrous car is a naturally aspirated system. It's not a forced induction or boosted combination. And it just seems like in the last decade, and even before that, probably that the technology keeps moving forward with those. But it's just like make it bigger and dump more nitrous in it. I think in the nitrous combination.
Well, it took a big jump, right? I mean, it made
fuel injection.
There have been significant leaps in nitrous racing. I mean, I think back to when Shannon Jenkins went that 399 with a 2 in Valdosta in 06. Like that was a shot heard around the world. But as that thing went down the track, I mean, the sparks were coming out. Sparks were coming out of it, right? It was eating itself up. I mean, they had to put a motor in it after that run. A few years later, whenever David Rear became involved, and the technology elevated
David Rear's
significantly.
Precision and craftsmanship, and
compression ratios went through the roof.
Then you get Pat Musey with fuel injection. Pat had been working on that for decades and been honestly struggling with it for a long time until he finally figured out. Then I think that was a big turning point for the combination. Then you got minds like Brandon Schweitzer, Gene Fulton, Charlie Buck, Pat Musey, that we already mentioned. A lot of smart people work on this combination, and a lot of smart racers that run it. But when it comes to quarter mile NHRA Pro Mod and the payouts, the travel, the costs versus what it costs for a nitrous engine, which are the most expensive of all of them, it's a tough deal, man.
Yep. It really is, man. And it will be a sad day in the sport of drag racing when, it could very well happen next Friday when we roll through the gates of the Texas Motorplex for the NHRA Fall Nationals, and it becomes apparent that there is not a nitrous car entered in the field. And I don't know what the entry list looks like currently off the top of my head, guys. If anybody has it pulled up, I don't know if it's a full field situation. Is there 17, 18 cars? Let me pull up the entry list because it's always, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ooh, 12 cars headed to Dallas. This is not necessarily pro mod country, but this is certainly a door slammer centric part of the United States. And it's a punch in the stomach.
It's interesting too, what a class without a countdown looks like for the last couple races of the year, where a lot of people.
That's a great counter to all the people that think that the countdown is bad, because we saw Stevie Jackson was on here last week saying it's no surprise when you get down to the end of the season and car counts start to dwindle, because if you're not in contention, why tow across the country. Why
And I think
bother?
that's Ricky's part of his argument too. Why spend this money if he feels like he's not going to be competitive or he's not in the championship hunt, even though you could argue that he still is, but he's got to make that decision.
It's a tough thing. It will make me personally sad. Like I literally yesterday I got to race a little bit, a nitrous car, and you just forget it's the coolest thing ever.
And you're in a Mustang.
Well, no, that was horrible. That was the worst
bonus.
part of the whole situation.
That was a bonus.
The fact that I was in a Mustang,
I loved it.
Well, I don't know. I'm still struggling to come to terms with it, but it was interesting.
You owned one. You owned one,
and he loved
like
it.
that.
And he drove it all the time. He drove it more than he's bet. I
paid $5,000 for it.
I
like
know,
if something happened, I would have just left the title in the glove box and walked away.
Awesome. That's why everybody wants to LS swap these things and go drag race them.
But I went to Nitrous Express yesterday in Wichita Falls, Texas. Shout out to all those guys. I don't know if they're watching today, but I got to spend an hour or so at Nitrous Express's shop yesterday afternoon. Great guys, Mike Wood, Mike Abbey, everybody, Chris. I'm Wes. There was a Wes there, extremely good-looking guy, well-mannered, polite. I mean, probably a great father, all those things. But we share first names, so it goes without saying. But anyways, great group of guys. Blake, I can't remember who else I met, but a bunch of folk. And it was crazy because that business is booming. They're selling nitrous systems as fast as they can make them, as fast as they can ship them out the door. So it's funny because there was a comment here, Michael Guziak on YouTube watching along. Thanks for watching. Michael's saying maybe, wooden car wheels are over, right? Maybe nitrous is over. And I don't think so. And it's tough because maybe the tool, maybe where that tool gets used just isn't in NHRA Pro Mod.
I think nitrous is the best and most accessible power adder outside of Pro Mod and the top levels. There's actually a great article in the new issue of PRI. It's either the new issue of the magazine or it's on their website. I saw it in their newsletter yesterday where they have kind of a roundtable with Pat Musey, Scott Shafroff, and Gene Fulton talking about just some general nitrous tips and ways to run it. And they generally focus on, street strip, lower end segment of the sport. And I think more than one of them comment in there that, like I said, nitrous is the most accessible and the most bang for your buck. That was kind of the selling point of nitrous at the start, was that you could take pretty much any engine at that time. Most of them were carbureted, naturally aspirated engines. And
slap a plate on it.
Strap this shit on there, and we're hauling ass.
And then it sold more engines after that.
Yeah.
Well, dude, but here's the thing. I mean, because that was the thing is there was like a real phobia around nitrous, right? Everybody thought like they'd put it on their car and immediately blow it up. And, hey, I didn't pull a bunch of timing out of it, but you could get away with like 150 horse plate system on virtually anything, right? And not have to put a wake holder plug in it or not have to pull a bunch of timing out of it. And it's a doggone motor. Because that was part of the problem, is that to really like put an aggressive nitrous system on it, the thing's going to only runs good on nitrous, So that's a whole issue as well. But it's the whole situation. It's way less damaging. You can blow anything up, right? But
everything's gotten better. All the parts have got more durable.
Everything's
technology, all the technology that controls everything has gotten so much better that you really have to work hard. And that's actually in the article too. We need to link to it, but
how was your test hits?
Good, man. I want to give a huge shout out to my buddy Tom Gunner. So basically what happened, I'll give everybody a preface of this, is and I've resisted this type of thing in the past, but I thought, what the hell? I got tagged at a bunch. I kept getting all these mentions. I think it was on like Friday night. And I start getting all these Facebook messages and I think to myself, oh shit, what? Yeah, think self. What controversy have you gotten yourself into unknowingly? Because I figured maybe we did something wrong or made somebody mad, which is typically the case when I'm getting tagged and stuff, So I go click on it, and it is Tom Gunner, a local Texas-based small tire racer, saying, "Hey, who can get me in touch with West Bucket Drag Illustrated if he wants to drive my car in this class called Cheap Street at the Texas Motorplex on Monday? I believe it's the 12th." The offer is there. You can have the seats yours. And so one thing leads to another, and I talk to a handful of people and kind of figure out who this guy is and what kind of car it is and what the scoop is. And I shoot him a message and I said, hey man, as long as this thing's safe, it's got like a diaper, got a cage in it, and as long as I feel like it's a reliable vehicle that I'm not going to get hurt in, I'm down to give it a shot, And so we talk and we kind of hit it off. He's a funny dude. He's like the most confident guy. He's like 6 something and like 88 pounds, scrawny. But you would think he's Fletcher Cox. I mean, you would think he is a linebacker in the NFL. It's hilarious. And he works at Nitrous Express. And obviously we've done business with Nitrous Express for over the years, and we've a very well-established company. And this whole thing starts coming together. And he hits me up and he goes, hey, listen, if you're going to drive the car at the Motorplex, we should probably get together and let you make some passes in it, just so you're comfortable by the time we get in front of like any type of crowd or anything like that. So anyways, we met up at, shout out to Chris, the owner of Wichita Falls Raceway Park in Wichita Falls, Texas. We went over there and spent basically the whole day making laps. So we got over there a little after 3 and we ran till 9 o'clock last night. I made 8 passes in the car. Can't cut a light to save my life. Jeez Louise. My best light was an 070, 071, which for not racing a trans brake car in a long time, I was okay with. Plus a car that I'd never been in before. It's a Mustang, so that's another issue. But no, it was fantastic. Aluminum headed, small block Chevy, a 427 with a single carburetor and a big nitrous plate on it. Car's been like mid 5s in the 8th mile. Fast, small tire car. It's got a 28-inch, I think a 275 radial on it. Nice car. It was a ball, dude. Just doing a burnout for the first time in a long time was fun. Like at least on a drag strip, it was just a great time. Huge shout out to Tom Gunner, everybody that was involved with that deal, all the guys from Nitrous Express. We had an absolute ball. So this cheap street deal, and I think this is something that everybody should know about, because my dad and I have had conversations about index racing and how people generally want to race heads up. You know what I mean, Mike? Like, You go to any racetrack in the country and like almost all the guys there wish they were racing a heads up class. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not shooting, taking shots at bracket racers, but it is awesome to race heads up, pro tree. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, right? So what they do with this cheap street deal is the night of the race, right? They draw the index out of a hat. So you don't know what the index is going to be. It could be 650, it could be 675, or it could be 70. And like, of course, we want it to be 650. We want it to be as fast as possible. But what it does is it challenges people to either speed their car up a little bit or slow it down a little bit. So what we did is we went like 650, I think the second pass, right? So then we started slowing it down because it's like, okay, we got to slow this thing down a little bit, shift sooner, lower the launch RPM, because we want to try to. So we got to the point where we ran a 674 twice. So we're thinking the air is going to be a little bit better. Probably Monday night, it was going to get a little bit later. So we needed to kind of factor that in. So we may pull the shift RPM back a little bit more. And then we wanted to get a 7.0. And my last pass of the night, we went 7 flat, 7.00. And it's like, okay, so we've got a 650 tune-up, we've got a 675 tune-up, and we've got a 7.0 tune-up. So whatever the draw is on next Monday night, we should be competitive if I can do a halfway decent job on the starting line, which is doubtful. I mean, I'm hoping for the best.
Practice.
Dude, it's practice in what? You know what I mean? Like practice tree is one thing, but that is, I think JT, I'm going to make JT go to a drag racing school because he thinks this shit's way too easy.
Yep.
I can't wait to see that. Look at him. I can't wait.
Let's stick JT and anybody else in Cheap Street. If you're willing to put JT in a car
I already
next week.
Oh no, dude. There's a car that they would put him in, but it's funny because I definitely think JT's cockiness would get him in a spot there because it ain't that easy, No. And it's just not like, it's loud, just all of it, and getting into a rhythm and getting comfortable. Like the funniest part of the whole thing, to be honest, and I shouldn't say this, but he goes, so I roll up to make my first pass, and it's tough because the biggest issue that I have with this stuff is racing somebody else's stuff.
Yeah, that's a tough deal.
It's very difficult. Like, it's not my car. It's not my stuff, not my tires, not my fuel. And you just, you feel it kind of, at least it grates on me. Because the whole time I'm like, God, I'm probably going to have to put a motor in this thing after the day's over, and I don't want to be the one who tears it up. So anyways, we go up for the first pass and I roll into the water and do a burnout. And I do like what I would call a sufficient burnout, right? Like a modest, sufficient burnout. So I roll up toward the staging beams, and here comes Tom. He swings the door open, and he sticks his head in the car. And he goes, "You did a burnout like a pussy. Back up and do it again." And I'm like, "Whoa," and he's like, "No, seriously, like do a burnout." And I'm like, "All right, fine." So I back it up and I proceed to do like a John Force burnout across the starting line. And I mean, this thing's bouncing off the rev limiter. So anyways, I back up and he swings the door up and he goes, "Better. We don't have to do that every time, but much better." Glad we got that out of the way. And anyways, we proceeded to have an absolute ball. And I think my main takeaway from it, and I'm excited to talk about our upcoming guest, Scott Palmer, with this, because the biggest takeaway I had from an entire day at the racetrack yesterday was that drag racing can be fun.
Oh man,
I know it was really tough for me.
Easy to forget that. Right?
It is easy to forget that. Like, and when you grow up racing, like at a hardcore, and your family's really serious about it, and everybody you're around is really serious about it, it's easy to lose sight of the fact that this is supposed to be fun. Like, we had a ball. We were laughing, telling jokes, giving each other a hard time, picking on one another, and I mean, you're sweaty and you're running around or whatever, and there's work involved, but it was such a good thing. I was driving up the return road in this thing, and I'm looking over, and I just think about you have all these memories that like flood over you. And I remember every time I'd get in a car, just being like watching the temperature gauge, watching the oil pressure gauge, just being terrified of what's going to go wrong and how much work it's going to be when something inevitably goes wrong. And to just coast to a stop, take the turn off, and drive back to the pits and pop the hood and let it cool off and get ready to make another run. Like, it was just such a reminder of how awesome the sport of drag racing is. There was a young lady there, 17 years old, definitely on our radar for the Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30 in the future, racing a C5 Corvette with a 408 stroker LS motor in it and a single stage nitrous system. The car will run 650s in the 8th mile. This girl is practicing cutting lights, having the time of her life. And I was just thinking about, not a super expensive car, and she's having a ball drag racing. And it made me proud of our sport, that it's so accessible, because that car, it isn't exotic. The car I was driving isn't exotic. This isn't something that someone couldn't have. And it's important that we get that message out there, because I do think that Brian Loans put on Facebook one time, I think, or he maybe said it on his podcast. He said, drag racers eat their young. And there's some truth to that. Like, we don't foster the next generation, in my opinion, the way that we should. Like, the 30 Under 30 shouldn't be something that's new. We've been doing it for 7 years, but that shit should have been going on for 5 decades. We have to encourage this next generation of racers. But I think all of us, and I'm going to kind of lump myself into this, all of us old fogies want to scare everybody and tell everybody how impossible it is and how... Right? We're all trying to earn street cred.
Validate the effort and validate all the expense. And
before you finish your story, we've got Scott Palmer here in the green room. We might as well bring him on, because you talk about having fun and doing it for fun.
Yes.
I mean, he's the person for it.
Throw it to me real quick, and I'm going to pay some bills and remind everybody that each and every episode of What Timing, the Wes Buck Show, is brought to you by way of our friends at Redline Synthetic Oil. Redline Synthetic Oil has been protecting engines since 1979. Their formulas were born in the lab and have been tested on tracks around the world. From 11,000 horsepower nitro-burning engines to 50cc motorcycle engines, they have the lubricants and coolants you need. Redline's lineup of coolants, gear oils, greases, and motor oils have protected racers and championships quests across all forms of drag racing. Guys, at Redline Synthetic Oil, they start with only PAO ester-based stock and engineer their lubricants and protection from there. Here is something cool that we want to share that we're excited to be a part of. Team Redline Oil is accepting applications for the 2023 drag racing season. It's open to all levels and all forms of racing. Product discounts, swag, all the cool stuff that you would expect when you join Team Redline is part of this. Visit redlineoil.com, and on the bottom of the page, you'll see sponsorships. Click that button and fill out the application. Redline Oil is engineered for enthusiasts by enthusiasts. As my buddy Mark Beatty says, when you know, you know. Shout out to our friends at Redline Oil. Let's get Scott Palmer in the party and talk about how fun drag racing can be. Scott, what's going on, big dog?
Hey, not much. Happy to be here.
Man, we're happy to have you, brother. Scoot up a little closer. You're kind of quiet. There we go. There we go. We got to get you up here. Oh, you're all of your sexy self. What's going on, man? Here, I want to talk about drag racing being fun because you're a living embodiment of that. But why don't you, since this has been such a hot news topic, why don't you give us a little bit of your feedback on the Travis Pastrana experience? We talked to Travis last week on the show. We had Alex on here, and it seemed only fitting to get your perspective on that whole deal because, man, we all owe you a big thanks, a round
Absolutely,
of applause,
man.
because
Yep.
wouldn't have happened without Scott and Palmer. So thank you, brother. What'd you make of that whole deal?
Well, it's just like you were just talking about. Can you hear me okay?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Okay. Like when you were just talking about we scare the next generation off. I know he's not the next generation, but people, you want to think that all these top fuel drivers out here, I hate to say this, but 90% of them honestly talk to people like the only ones who can do it. And I think if I can do it, anyone can do it if they practice, and take some time to do it. So when this opportunity came up, what a great way to reach millions of new fans for drag racing with Travis Pastrana. And if anyone thinks he can't do it, they've lost their minds, I mean, I'm going to see to it that he gets his license, and the ultimate goal for me would be to have him drive a car by the end of next year, make a race, run a race. You know how good that would
That'd
be?
be awesome.
And
Oh my God. If that happened, Scott, it would be almost unbelievable how big that would be for our sport.
And me and him talked in the lounge, and he said, what do you think? And I said, if I were you, my goal would be to make a few runs as you can throughout next year, but let's just say a year, and we'll get you that 300 miles an hour, which that's what he ultimately wants to do, is say he went 300. But why stop there? Why wouldn't you want to get your license, run a race, even if he's never going to be a top fuel racer? He's too busy. He's got too many things going on. But why wouldn't we put him in a car and get him out there? And just so everybody knows, I've caught a lot of flack about, well, I bet you made some money off that. I want everyone to know I did that for free. There was no money changed hands. I did that for the sport of drag racing. We need some excitement. And, what we do on the reckless side with all the crazy stuff we do, honestly, isn't enough. We need to get out there and reach some more people.
I couldn't agree more, Scott, because that was like, and we talked about that on the show last week because I thought the same thing. I guarantee you there are people out there that think Black Rifle Coffee or Haviland or somebody stepped up and made this deal happen. And I thought it was important to make note of the fact, because your girlfriend Crystal and I were talking about this, and she, I love her. She's a sweetheart. You definitely married up. But I said, what did I say?
Coke during my interview. So,
isn't she a sweetheart? She goes, what people maybe don't understand is that everything Scott owns and loves is right here between these two trailers. And while this is super exciting for the sport and everybody's fired up, it also is, it's a little bit of a tense situation for us, because if something goes awry, it's going to have a significant impact on us, and I don't think we can say that enough. And again, that's why I felt it was important to give you a round of applause, because I don't think there's a lot of people that would have done that. And it's an amazing thing. And I was surprised when Travis got on the show last week and said, I wouldn't want to do it unless I had an opportunity to be competitive. And I thought, that the hook is set. He wants to try to do it. And like you said, I don't expect to see him on the tour, but if we could even get him entered in a single race, and the situation exists where he's lined up next to Alex, or he's lined up next to Steve Torrance or Tony Schumacher, holy moly, what would that do for drag racing?
Huge. And that's just one of, I got a lot of goals out here. I hopefully I can get them all done, but that's a new goal of mine. Get him to a race running an event. I think that was huge. What we got already was huge. What my social media, which I'm not real good at it, but mine has blown up. I'm probably 100 times more followers. It's crazy what it's done. The messages I've got, I couldn't answer them if I sit down every day and did it.
Isn't that amazing, man? I mean, and that's something that I think the sport of drag racing has needed to do for a long time, because I know it requires an investment, and I understand the expense and the struggle of all of this, but you got to spend money to make money, right? And I kind of have thought to myself, we needed to get Travis Pastrana. JT and I have had this conversation 100 times. Like, how do we get Travis Pastrana, Ken Block, Rob Dyrdek, any of these guys that have huge followings online? How do we get them to a race? How do we get them in a car? Because that could be part of, I mean, that's a pretty common marketing strategy, is to leverage other people's fame. Like, ride their coattail. There's no shame in it, right? It is what it is. We've all done it. So I'm really, really glad it's happened. Scott, I want to ask you, I was just telling this story of getting to drive this small tire car yesterday, and I'm so excited to race your race Monday night at the Motorplex, which I want to talk about. But can you kind of take us through a little bit of your decision to move? You set out, you mentioned a goal of yours was to run the full pull, to go say you ran every race on the NHRA tour, but then after doing it, you're kind of like, that's not really the way I want to race. I mean, how important is it for you to be having fun when you go to the racetrack?
Well, I won't do it without that. That's the bottom line. Like you said, everything sitting there in the pits, when you roll up to my pits, I seriously do not own a house. I rent a house from a buddy of mine. I drive a minivan that, is usually sponsored. I don't have cool things to drive around town. I got a Harley that was given to me by Trask. Trask Performance gave it to me. So I've got a few cool things sitting around. But all these race cars, it looks real glamorous, but the rest of it is not. My goal is to never be home to need to buy a house. I want to, but why have a big fancy house? But I put it all back into the team. So that's just the way I've always done it. I went all in, and I got to just go on.
I love it, man. So when you look at like 2023, I mean, is it like you dabble in Top Fuel? I mean, what's your plan for the Studebaker? You've got this, for those that don't know, Scott's got a freaking Top Fuel got a Top Fuel engine in a Pro Mod style Studebaker. I mean, it's probably the coolest thing in all of drag racing. I mean, I guess, are we going to get to see that thing next Monday night?
Oh yeah, we just loaded it. I mean, I walked in here, I was trying to get reception so I could be doing this interview while we rolled it into the trailer, but I had no reception in the shop, so I came in the office. But yeah, we just rolled it in the trailer. We just rolled the Chevelle in the trailer, both Top Fuel dragsters. We have a whole lineup of cars coming.
Who all is coming? You've got Nostalgia Nitro Funny Cars. You got some Fuel Altereds coming. Did you find anybody for Bubba Stanton to match race yet?
Well, we're trying to peer pressure Frankie Taylor. That'd be a great race. And he should be there because Alex is bringing his Corvette, and we'll have Alex make a run in the Haviland car. One run, me and him will race, and the other run, I'm going to race Jeff Deal in his Fuel Funny car.
Oh, no joke. Okay, that'll be awesome. What about, hey, everybody watching along, start tagging Frankie Taylor. Start mentioning Frankie Taylor. Let's use some peer pressure here and get Frankie to lock in a grudge race with Bubba Stanton, because that was a big part of last year's event. The match race between Stevie Jackson and Bubba Stanton was, I mean, that crowd on the starting line, the enthusiasm, the energy. What do you make of this Texas Stampede of Speed and the effort they're putting in? I mean, 7 days of drag racing, something going on every single night. It's a pretty amazing thing, man. And you can already, I'm seeing TV commercials, I'm seeing billboards, hearing it on the radio. Like they're pushing hard.
They're pushing it hard, and it's a great deal for drag racing. I'll tell you who gets the best deal, I think, out of the whole week. That's NHRA. Because whether or not Monday night you won't have a big crowd, Monday night you're probably not going to have a big crowd, but you have a huge social media crowd. Huge. And I see the feedback from that the whole year. And now people are asking me, are we going to have this on a live feed? Well, not really. It's not really, but there's feeds going on everywhere live from the Stampede of Speed. So the following that it gets follows through to the national event. And the social media deal is what we're trying to do a better job of this year, is to just promote the sport and get it out there and promote the race coming up. But next year I talked to Christy Meyer today, and next year we're going to work on a deal to do the Nitro Sideshow on a Friday and Saturday at the Motorplex, because I think we can get a big crowd out there. And I think the sport needs some big shows. I think they need like the old days. I think they need match racers on the way to match race on the way to a national event. I think we're missing that. We're missing the guys who can't afford to load up their family and go pay $100 a day for a ticket. We're missing that.
I agree. And if you think back to how drag racing used to work, like all those match races and small events fed the national events. And I agree. Like when I look at the landscape, and that's why, I'm not trying to let the cat out of the bag here, but we here at Drag Illustrated are likely going to get back into the event promotion business because I don't feel anybody's doing what needs to be done. I genuinely feel like we need more big independent events. Like, you need the NHRA to do what they do, but you need complementary things. For me, I think back to when there was a handful of big door slammer races. You got duck stuff going on. These drag and drive events are obviously growing, but like Tom Bailey and the gang at Sick Week, hell, they're talking about doing 3 events next year. And I think that just speaks to the point we're making, Scott. Like, we need more of this stuff. Like, there is interest out there. There is participation out there. Most of those events sell out in a few minutes. So it's the interest is there. And I think the need is there, but we just need some people to step up and say, hey, I'm going to throw my hat into the ring and I'm going to put on these races. And thank God for Billy Meyer, Christy Meyer, everybody involved at the Motorplex, because God knows they've really, really stuck their neck out here and are doing something significant for our sport. I'm looking forward to I don't know if I think you'll have a decent, I think the show was so good. And what I liked about last year on Monday night, the atmosphere, like it was relaxed. It wasn't tense. There was just a bunch of good old boys having a good old time.
Yeah, we have a big screen this year. We're going to be playing Monday Night Football. I know it's not, Texas is not playing, the Cowboys or whatever. They're not playing, but in Texas,
Chiefs are, though.
You're not watching. Not going to get some of those crowds because they're going to be hovered around that in between sessions. But we'll run a session at 7 o'clock and then about 9:30, and that'll be around third quarter. So then they can come back over and have a few cocktails, because we allow that around our pits after hours. Come a few cocktails with us and watch the end of the game, and it'll be awesome. Last year we had a band, but I just felt like the band wasn't. They had a band the whole day Sunday, and we're actually going to make a run. I called Alex a couple of days ago. We talked about it. We're going to make a run, an intermission at the Motorplex when they have 35,000, 40,000 people there for the music festival.
So really? Well, dude, that'll be a big deal, because that's another thing that NHRA should send at least a thank you card, because you know as well as I do that most of the people that come out to that music deal are not necessarily hardcore drag racing fans.
Oh, but if they see Top Fuel Cars, I believe there's a chance you could get 15% of them. If you got a percentage of them, that's more than we're getting now.
I couldn't agree more, and I really genuinely hope that's the case. I'm curious. We have a big following of No Prep Kings fans. I know that you are a big fan of that scene. Held the decals on your car earlier this year. You were contemplating maybe showing up at one of those races. I saw you at the event in Dallas last year with your '63 Corvette. What do you make of that whole No Prep scene? Are you a fan? I mean, obviously you're a fan, but I would love to hear some of your thoughts on what they have going on over there.
To me, it's right now, it's the biggest thing in racing. And some people don't like it, but 90% of the people in the world love that show and love the atmosphere they have going on. And I'm good friends with Dwayne and Callie Mills and Tara Mills. So, I follow them religiously, and I'm from the 405. So I'm automatically proud of what they've done. But yeah, we've got some stuff going. Me and Sam have talked, and we're gonna, at some point, we're working on a deal to run some Top Fuel Cars like that. And you never know. I mean, we were trying to get some there to Tulsa, and there was a few incidents happened, so we decided not to run them there. But there's a chance you'll see a couple of Top Fuel Cars make a run there by the end of the year.
No joke.
And the reason we want to do it is just to put it out there and just show people that we can make that happen. Because when we go to a match race, the tracks are not NHRA prep, but we go down them. We've run 310 at 270 at Ozark. Now, Ozark Raceway is pretty stout on the starting line. It's pretty good, but you can't make it a national event. It's a great little track, but you both grew up racing there, so you know what I'm dealing with. But to run that there, I know I can do that at No Prep Kings, and I think that would blow some minds.
You went 310 at 270 in Rogersville, Missouri?
Yep, sure did.
Holy shit, Scott.
Yeah. And there's like an 80-foot bluff at the end of that track. There is no the catch net is not, you know what I mean? You're going off the bluff if you go off the
That's another reason why we've designated September 26th as National Scott Palmer Day.
Do you know that we named a day after you?
I don't know if you watched the show last week, but yeah.
December 20th, or yeah,
September 26th is International Scott Palmer Day.
Pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, you gotta crazy. I mean, that to me, that wasn't crazy. I grew up racing there, so we went there and it actually shouldn't have run quite that fast, but we were testing a few things, and if it would run as fast at a national event like last weekend as it would at Ozark, the thing would run 372. But we can't get it to run as hard as I do. I go there and the thing hauls ass, and I go to a national event and we overthink everything and we mess up. So we're working on that too. We're trying to get our program back in the 70s. We've been stuck on 80 flat the last 3 races.
Well, I saw you went 380 flat at 320 something. What are you like for those of us, like, I'm a door slammer guy, and my deepest exposure to nitro racing was when you sat me in that car. And I'm telling you, my hand to God, I will drive that car of yours. Before I'll come up with the bread, but before it's all said and done, I'm going to drive that thing. But I'm curious, what separates those top teams in the NHRA Top Fuel right now? Is it all in the bell housing? Is it all clutch? Because I mean, I'm sure everybody's making big power, or do some of the guys have better blowers? Or I mean, what is separate? Like, what's Grubby doing? I mean, obviously, maybe we don't know, but what's like David Grubnick doing versus some of these guys that are running mid 370s?
We have pretty much the same parts as everyone. Our parts are probably they're not brand new, but they're pretty nice. We don't run, even 5 or 6 years ago, we ran some pretty rough parts, but we keep them pretty up to date. But the difference is the maintenance program, and we do a good job of maintenance because nothing's falling off the car and, doing stupid shit, and, it backs up and does all the right stuff. But, the maintenance program they keep is unbelievable. You need 10 people full time to keep up with this deal. And when you do that, you can run the car a little bit harder. You can have another degree of timing. You can run your compression factor a little lower. Like compared to Capco, we run pretty much similar. They've helped us for 5 years. So we run a similar combination, but we can't run it quite as hard because the maintenance it takes to run at that level is amazing what it takes to do that. Now, we do the same maintenance, but when we have a seat that's 2,000 slow, or it needs to be touched with a grinder, we touch it with a grinder. Capco takes those heads out of circulation, sells them, puts new ones on. And you think that doesn't matter, but because it does affect the flow as you lower the seat and the head, you think, oh yeah, whatever, that doesn't help. But Top Fuel racing is more like Comp Eliminator right now than it is Top Fuel. It's a lot more technical than people give it credit for.
Because I do think a lot of people think, okay, it's got a blower and it's on nitro.
Yeah.
Nothing else really matters. But it's gotten so far. It's like pro stock, right? I mean, it's where it's little bitty nuances.
It is. Which I watch Killer. We call him Killer, Mike Giaffino. He services heads from Devo's car. I watch him CC the cylinder heads every run. Not every race, every run. There's just no room for a mistake or have one thing off if you want to run at that level. And we want to run at that level, but you also can't do that and not run the full season. You got to stay in the routine. You got to be out there.
Do you think that is, because it's funny, because this kind of circles back to what we were talking about with, I don't know if you saw this, but it's like big, I mean, I feel like it's big news that Ricky Smith has, what's the word? Withdrawn from the NHRA Fall Nationals in Pro Mod. It's the last race of the season. And, from what we understand, there's no one else, he's retiring, so basically maybe we've seen Ricky Smith run his last race this past weekend in St. Louis, which would suck. Wow. But the reason I bring that up is that he's said it a lot very publicly that he's not going to run the rods out of his, he just isn't going to do it to the same reasons you have. Doesn't have the manpower, doesn't have the resources, nor does he have the desire. It also harkens back to a conversation I've had with Don Garlitz. Big Daddy Don Garlitz, he builds every engine that he's ever raced. And he's told me, he's like, I have a love affair with every one of those pieces of equipment, and I can't imagine blowing them up. I can't imagine tearing them to pieces. I will never do that. However, that's where racing has gotten. Do you think that that's problematic? I mean, is that something that we need? I don't know how you address it, but is that something that you see as an issue? I mean, we got guys that are basically quitting because they don't want to have to do that.
Yeah, that's an issue. For sure, that's an issue. Some guys just, you can't just afford to keep throwing money at it. Now, some of the big teams don't tear up a lot of stuff. They have it figured out, but it goes back to the maintenance. You run a set of rods, even if they measure good, if you run them 1 or 2 runs and you take them out, you're probably not going to have the failure that we would have running them 8 runs if they measure right. And then it's the end of the year. You can't get rods because we don't buy them by the pallet load. So you end up, if you're a small team, you end up maybe running them 1 or 2 too many. You have a malfunction and it costs you $100,000. So it definitely has an effect on what's going on right now. I do think Sam has the answer for that problem. I think he has the answer, and it's prep. If you notice, I think it was 3 years ago, 2018, I believe, NHRA did not prep the tracks like they did, and all the big teams were really upside down over it. And I'm going to catch some flack over saying this, but you can also notice that Blake Alexander won a race at Sonoma, I believe. We went to the final round, and a lot of the little teams. Todd Payton's car went to the final round. We all of us little guys were like, "Hey, watch this!" Now because you can't run 62 degrees out the back door if it's prepped right. You go through the lights at 57, like we do now. Big difference in parts attrition, and I think that's one thing that hopefully we do something with your deal, whatever races we promote, and I've always got something going on, but I think that's the answer. You could take Brittany's car to not a no prep track, but a not sticky to the finish line track. And I believe it's more competitive. I just believe it is. Now, I love watching her make those big runs. Grubnick is a genius. He's got something right now that everybody's trying to find, and people are going to put themselves out of business trying to find. Be real honest with you. I just sit back here and tread water, and I know my zone. I know where I belong, and I know what it takes to stay there and not put myself too far out of business, so I can go do my other stuff too. Because I love Top Fuel racing, but I'm kind of too spread out probably. But that's the way I like it. That's what I'm going to do.
It is. I mean, because I think you're right. And I know that I'm going to catch some flack for this too. But whenever they did that prep reduction, and obviously nobody wants to see anybody get hurt. Nobody wants to see anybody tear anything up. But I do think we've kind of hit this. We're too far gone on that. And I think we saw it. I mean, I remember when the American Drag Racing League brought in their own prep crew. Right. And I felt like the writing was on the wall, because all of a sudden I'm looking at all these pro mod guys going, dude, I can't even get down this track. Like, we don't have enough power to spin the tire on this racetrack. And it just seemed like it escalated from there. Then you see all these traveling track prep teams, and Donald Long's putting on these races where they're going through 400 gallons of glue, and that becomes the norm. And obviously the NHRA has always been at the forefront of providing a great racetrack and with safety. And the tracks have gotten so good, and so everything's laser ground and they're smooth, and there's so much effort put into that to your point, Scott, man, it makes it hard for the guys that don't have the endless budget or don't have the pocket strength to be able to go out there and say, hey man, we're just going to run the rods out of it on every single pass. And if we pulled some of that back, and I do think there's a threshold. My buddy of mine in Minnesota, Aaron Van Heel, he's the motorsports marketing manager at Intercomp that makes scales and gauges and whatnot. A great buddy of mine. He calls it light prep, where it's not no prep, but it's kind of a light prep. They do a shootout deal up there in Minnesota at a little 8th mile track, and that's what they do. Like, they prep the track at the beginning of the night, they make sure it's safe, and then they start drag racing, and I do think there's an argument that could be made to pull the track prep back, maybe not 50%, maybe it's take 20% off and see what happened. You know what I mean? And maybe it's something that has to be done over the course of time. But when I look at the entry lists and the amount of teams that exist that don't tour, we've got to do something to correct that trend, right?
Oh, definitely do. And then, you know, if we do something with no prep kings or whatever ends up happening, we'll see there. But you know, I've got other things going on, like you know, we should have the Travis Pastrana deal was a good deal. We should have celebrity top fuel. We should teach and Tony Stewart, look what he did. I mean, he offered to help me with that project, and because he didn't really know Travis, they knew each other, but they weren't friends. But from his perspective, explaining top fuel racing and mine is two different things, because I just think I should be able to tell someone, hey, get in the car, put it in reverse, push play. It's not that hard. It's a top fuel car. You know, it's not a pro mod where you got to do, well, it's not a clutch pro mod like mine where you got to do some things and remember things. You know, but so I just he helped me do that. But can you imagine if we had 8-car field and 3 or 4 of those were celebrities running with guys, but you took the time to show them how to run one at an 8-mile race. Then we could have an 8-car field of some big ballers from other sports driving a top fuel car. If
I'm NHRA, I'm calling up Force or whoever, Schumacher, and I'm buying 8 cars. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I know it's all easier said than done, but I mean, when you know the kind of revenue that is generated over there, and you understand that it's a nonprofit organization, right? That's dedicated to growing and building the sport of drag racing. I don't know that there'd be any better way to do it than exactly what you're saying. You know, get somebody from Monster Jam in a car, get somebody from NASCAR in a car, get someone from IndyCar in a car. I mean, action sports and so on and so forth. And that could be, I think it could be a business. I mean, all those cars could be sponsored and all those seats could be sold. I mean, I really think that that's a doable thing.
Well, it's like Tony's series that he has aside from NASCAR. That thing has gotten big, you know. We need to do something like that for drag racing. And really you need to own 3 or 4 cars to really put people in it to do that, which would be a nightmare. I realize that. I realize I'm talking way over my budget here, but you never know what happens, because you don't need the other 4, because you'd have 4 other guys in each area you ran these races at that would show up to race, you know, Kurt Busch or somebody like that in the top fuel car. The place would be packed. You'd have plenty of racers show up and want to race them for the person. Have a legitimate race, but have celebrities in there. I mean, I think I know that there's going to be racers tell me I'm an idiot, but I've heard that for my whole life, so I'm good.
Same. And pretty much every time I've said any of the stuff that I want to do, somebody tells me I'm crazy, but that's cool. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, they told us that I was crazy to put on a 100,000 to win pro mod race on Thunder Mountain out in Denver, Colorado, but by God, we did it. And, you know, we're going to do crazy shit again, you know, because that's what I think that's the biggest problem we have as a sport right now is I think there's a whole lot of operating within our comfort zone. There's a whole lot of doing what we've always done. And man, the times are changing. I heard Bob Dylan say, and it's like, we got to do something different, right? It's time, because if you look at television, car culture's booming. I mean, they can't put enough stuff on Discovery Channel of cars and smoking tires and working on cars. This stuff is clearly making a difference. And I think we got to try some things. Scott, man, thank you so much for the time. We're going to chat with you again, I believe, next Wednesday, if at all possible. And of course, we'll see you Monday night at Scott Palmer's Nitro Sideshow live at the Texas Motorplex, the legendary Texas Motorplex, as day 2, I guess, of the Texas Stampede of Speed. Scott, thanks for everything you do for the sport of drag racing, brother. We love you.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me on, and see everybody hopefully Monday night. You know, come out. If you can't come out, we'll have it on here somehow.
Find a way, brother. We'll talk to you soon, buddy. Thank you. Hey, guys, I want to remind you, each and every one of you, all my friends here on the World Wide Web, that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top quality racing safety equipment, from drag chutes and seatbelts to fire suits, gloves, and blankets, all 100% made in America. Log on to StroudSafety.com and make sure you tell them we sent you. Guys, we've got another, what a barn burner of a show, right? Dare I say it? Barn burner of a show, guys.
Get some beer.
Yeah, I know. That's only 2 times I've said it.
Let's touch on something we've been doing, Wes, about the gear wrench giveaway, our contest that we're running.
we're going to get killed if we don't. Guys, for the last 30-ish days or so, a little over that, 45 days, we have partnered with Gear Wrench, longtime sponsor of Ron Cap's NHRA Funny Car, the Napa Auto Parts Funny Car, to put tools in your hands. We've partnered with the gang at Gear Wrench to do a monthly giveaway, the Drag Illustrated giveaway. We're very proud of this. We've wanted to do it for a long time, just needed to find the right dance partner. Gear Wrench has absolutely been that. So every 30 days, we are awarding a brand new $500-ish toolbox, which is really nice. I've got one, a really nice toolkit, and we're giving one away every 30 days. Mike, I'm going to have you announce our winner of this past week's or this past month's contest. And I want to remind everybody, what is it? dragillustrated.com/giveaway.
I haven't memorized. I entered like 500 times myself.
Did you?
And didn't
we
win.
had 6,000 some odd entries.
We had like 6,000 entries for the first one. And like you said, it's going to be running every 30 days. The web address is dragillustrated.com/gearwrench-giveaway. So not as simple as we probably needed to make it, but we'll put the link in the comments. And our winner, we actually drew yesterday. The winner of the first contest is Timothy Streets out of Montana. And we've actually already contacted Timothy, and his toolbox is on the way. So get in on this next one.
Timothy. Yeah, man. JT, throw that bad boy, throw that link in there, and I'll create a shorter link for that, because upon hearing you read it aloud,
I'm very sorry. When I pulled it up, I was like, damn, I got to read this.
What was it again?
What we wanted.
dragillustrated.com/gearwrench/giveaway.
No, gearwrench-giveaway.
Yeah, my bad. Gearwrench-giveaway. We'll make the web link shorter, but we've been posting it on social media, and it
automatically generates that when you create the page. So sorry about that. We'll fix it.
Yeah, we'll fix it. But hey, nonetheless, huge shout out to Gear Wrench. Congratulations, Tim. I texted with him earlier in the week, and as you said, Mike, his toolbox is already on its way. I think he will. I'm pretty sure he'll get it tomorrow, which is exciting. So anyways, man, Montana is way out there. And he actually told me, he's like, man, I'll put those tools to good work. He goes, is there anything else you need for me to claim the prize? And I said, just send me a picture with the toolbox. You know, I want to make sure you got it. So anyways, guys,
take it places, maybe the movies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's too heavy.
It's very heavy.
It's too heavy to carry it around with you. I mean, it's like a significant
Kevin Stevenson, if you look in the new issue of the magazine, we do have an ad in there with a QR code that takes you right to this contest as well. New issue of the magazine just dropped yesterday. I don't know if everyone's, or actually Monday. Steve Torrance on the cover. Probably, in my opinion, one of the best looking issues we've done of the magazine. When you get it in your hands soon, it's going to have a new coating on the cover, a new poly bag. We're doing big things around here.
Man, I'm excited to get this thing in people's hands, because I agree with you, man. What was the page count on this issue? Like 140? 140 pages. One of the biggest issues of the magazine we've done in a while. Really just a cool feeling, to be honest. Like it to see that thing. And I think Steve Torrance being on the cover, long overdue. We have been waiting because he won so often and so much that it's been kind of tough, because we don't like to fall into that pattern of just putting whoever wins on Sunday on the cover of the magazine Monday. Like we want it, we want to be, we like to call our shot instead of react. Right? Like Drag Illustrated, like our kind of theme or our internal operation is more about reacting to the news and responding to what's happening in the sport versus trying to break all the latest news or anything like that. Because I feel like there's plenty of people doing that, but there's not enough people reacting to it and providing insight and opinion on what's going on in the sport, asking racers for insight and opinion on what's going on in the sport. So we didn't want to just do the easy thing, and Steve Torrance goes back-to-back winning Top Fuel championships and put him on the cover of the magazine. And I also felt it was a more relatable story to wait until now. He's had a really rough season.
Like, and that's what we're doing. We're actually calling our shot on that. We've talked about it on this show a lot. We thought that Steve Torrance would get it, that program would come around right at the countdown time. And sure enough, literally the day after the new issue lands, this man has gone all the way up to second in points. Counted out earlier in the year, he's second in points going to the last couple of races here of the season.
He's always
so that's the shot we were calling.
And they let him hang around. You know, it's one of those things you don't put him away, and he's going to be trouble at the end probably.
I think they've got a real problem now. You can't let these cats get a sniff, you know. And if you've got somebody get down and out, like you said, T, you got to shut the door. You got to stomp on their throats. And these guys, you know, and obviously it's not on purpose, but they've allowed him to stay within a striking distance. And now he's going to be a problem for him. And I'm telling you what, I think that will be the bow on Steve Torrance's career. Like, no matter what happens next, if he wins a 5th championship, right, and does it with all the controversy and everything else that's gone on in the season he's had this year, because he's seen it. We've seen him do it both ways. We've seen him sweep the countdown, win every race to close the season. But then we've also seen him go winless until the countdown. And I just think that this really, to me, puts him in that legendary category, right? He kind of moves up a notch. And it's weird, man. He's a polarizing figure for whatever reason. But this is a great ambassador for the sport of drag racing. I mean, down here in Texas, he's a beloved character. I mean, he's a great guy. I've got to tell you, and we got to get Daniel Pharris on here to talk a little pro mod. But we've been doing this magazine for 16 years now. This month, actually, 10 days from now, will be 16 years. It was October 15th, 2005, when we kicked the doors open on this business, and 178 issues. I don't think I've ever gotten a more genuine reaction from someone about being on the cover of the magazine as I got a little over a week ago in Charlotte, North Carolina, when Mike and I and Rick Belden, our senior photographer here our director of photography here at Drag Illustrated, strolled into Steve's pits and presented the cover to Steve. His wife Natalie and his mom Kay was there, and the reaction, I mean, was that the most authentic reaction you'd ever seen, Mike? I mean, it melted my heart.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And he was so humbled. Wow, man, thank you so much. This means everything, like he had won the world championship. So that means a lot to us. And it's a side of Steve I think we've shown on this show many times, but that maybe the general public doesn't see. Maybe once they read the story that Nate Van Wagenen put together in this issue, they'll get another good idea of what this guy is like. Multifaceted guys, not just, we hear all about the slap, right? We hear all about all these things. That's the number one thing that comes up, but so much else this guy's done, the adversity he's been through. He actually just posted about that recently on social, the cancer situation he had many years ago. So everyone's got a story. That old saying, like, everyone be kind, because you never know what anyone's going through. You may look at Steve one way, but once you read the story and hear what he's about, then you may have a different opinion.
He's an awesome dude.
He really is a great guy.
Does Rick Belden stroll into a pit though?
No, he lumbers.
He lumbers into a pit, man.
Yeah. The guy's
he's largely bolted together, right? So he kind of walks into the pits with, and the ground thuds, as those ham hocks hit the pavement. Big boy right there. He's a great guy to have lead our charge photography wise, because he certainly gets attention. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring on the man of the hour. This is something that I watched on social media unfold, and we saw this a few years ago when Stevie Fast Jackson made his NHRA Pro Mod debut. I hope you guys remember this, because he showed up at the NHRA Gator Nationals, and I had never seen more posts on social media about NHRA Pro Mod than in that moment, because he brought with him all of his legions of fans and fellow competitors from the small tire, outlaw drag radial, outlaw drag racing world with him. And it was really cool to see. And we're seeing an influx of these guys making their presence known, the most recent of which being the one, the only mayor of Sykeston himself, Daniel Pharris. Let's give it up for a Missouri boy, Mike. JT. Woo, what's going on, buddy?
Hey guys, how are you?
Oh, good, man, we're fantastic, buddy. Yeah,
I haven't seen you guys' faces forever.
It's been a minute,
man. Speaking of seeing your face, dude, watching the NHRA the NHRA TV deal, you got to ride back up to the starting line with the pro stock and pro stock motorcycle and fuel winners, and they bring you up on the stage. I thought that was interesting as hell. Pro Mod was the last thing down the track, and then you get to do that deal. I think even you were stunned a little bit. You weren't really sure what to do.
No, I was, man. I got out of the car. They handed me the Wally. They did all the deal, which first time, not used to that, right? Cameras in my face. And I'm like, I had a complete, like, Ricky Bobby moment. Like, what do I do with my hands, right? And so I'm just used to, Tim and the guys that every time I win a race, it's like, here comes the water, and like they were squirting crap in my face. And I think crazy ass Brent squirts a damn Bud Select in my face. Thanks, Brent. My driving suit smells like an alcoholic now. But anyways, they after that it all settled, I went to go get in the golf cart and they're like, no, you go get in the truck. And I'm like, what? Like, this doesn't happen. Like, I'm not.
I don't know that's ever happened in pro.
No,
we have to go back and check the tape.
Courtney said that. Courtney said that that's never happened. And Deb even made a comment too. It's like, they must, and that's a good feeling because that, and NHRA, it made the whole pro mod class the whole class felt that, right?
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, we must have done something right.
It's a simple thing, right? It really doesn't cost them anything, but it does elevate you guys up to the level that we think pro mod should be.
And I look over there and like Torrance and Robert and Erica and Matt is all like, come on. I'm like, wow.
Screw it, I'm going.
I mean, holy shit, man. I've got goosebumps talking about it. I mean,
of course you do.
Shut up, JT. I'll end your session here. But it's like, I mean, seriously, it doesn't take much. And that's what I've been screaming for 15 years is it won't take much. All they want is to feel appreciated, feel included, feel guilty by association. Go ahead, park them in the gravel, whatever. But when the time comes, treat them like human beings, treat them like the rest of these guys, and it will make all the difference in the world. And it goes beyond that because on the media side, Daniel, and I sent this to the NHRA's media team because it meant a lot to me. They included photos. So after every race, I don't know if everybody knows this, and everybody should know this because if you're putting on a race or if you've got a sanction or series, this should be part of your operation. But after every NHRA national event, because we take some shit at Drag Illustrated for giving NHRA so much ink. Well, here's why we do. After every race, we get about 75 high-res, bad-to-the-bone photos from the NHRA. We get highlight videos we get every final round, right? They send us a ton of stuff.
Every number one qualifier.
Every number one
qualifier.
qualifier. Every provisional number one qualifier. So at the end of every NHRA national event, on Friday night, I've got a treasure trove of content. On Saturday night, I've got a treasure trove of content. And on Sunday, I've got a treasure trove of content. So no wonder they get a ton of publicity from us because they make it easy, right? Yeah. So, but the point I was trying to make is historically, Pro Mod has not been included in that, right? Unless it's like a spectacular crash. We're not going to get photos. We're not going to get videos, right? But I noticed immediately whenever NHRA sent out the link to the media for all the videos, I see Daniel Pharris Sunday win. And I go, this is a big deal. Then I went to the media site and your winner circle photos are in there. I've seen it happen a couple times.
Awesome,
awesome photos. But like when it's a championship shot, maybe like Ricky wins or Stevie wins in Vegas, it might be included. Typically it's not. And man, it made it easy for us to give you a bunch of ink and give you a bunch of publicity, but it did feel, oh hush, it's our pleasure. But it's like, that makes such a huge difference. And to see you riding up the return road with Robert Height and Steve Torrance and Matt Smith and Erica.
I had to do a double take. And I was watching you to see, is he chatting them up? Like, what was that conversation like? Were they, what happens on that ride back up there?
Honestly, I mean, there was not a lot. I mean, at one point, Steve Torrance was talking about, and he may be listening, and he'll get a crack out of this. He was talking about some dude's Air Jordan shoe collection or something on the way back up. I'm like, dude, you just won Top Fuel, and you're talking about some dude's shoe collection? Like, are you serious?
Has he been to my house?
Yeah,
he's talking about Bobby Lagana.
Oh,
yeah, Bobby Lagana always is rocking fresh jeans.
And then I look over at Robert Height, and he's like, man, I need a beer.
I figured they're like,
man, I've watched these guys for so many years run, and like, it was just, it was a surreal moment. Like, it was almost better than like literally winning the race. Like, I can't believe that I'm literally riding up the back of the track to this big crowd of people, like welcoming you as a winner back with all these guys. Like,
that's what they should. That's what they should have said. They should have looked at you and said, "Welcome to the big time, noob."
Dude, I mean, like seriously, like, and it was crazy because like Steve Jackson was standing, kind of over by that area, and I looked at him. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you right now, it wasn't just me that felt that. The whole class and series felt that. Like, that's never happened before, and everybody felt that moment. Like, that was just incredible. Like,
I mean, here's a guy who lost a crazy close race that could have put him a little closer to championship contention, and he's still up there cheering you on. And it was cool to see him because I was watching the live feed, and I'm like, he's up there on the starting line. Everybody was up there.
And they said Stevie had helped J.R. Gray, his crew, get that car back together for the finals. And he was up there, watching that too. So really pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I didn't want to go down there around JR's pit because I figured he had enough guys standing down there anyways. But I mean, you could tell like from our side of the camp. I mean, it was like all hands on deck before the finals, and and I was sitting there like they got they come around and called us up there or whatever. And we were actually supposed to run right behind Fuel, but Top Dragster got in there in front of us. But that we tried to hang on as long as we could without getting NHRA over there yelling at us. But it was like, God, I hope I don't want to win a race like this. I don't want to. Like, I hope, please tell me that car runs. Like, get up here. That's why we do this, is for the fans, man. And I mean, if we can't do that, then why even go racing? I mean, this is just, that's why I wanted to go run NHRA. It was
that's where I was headed. I wanted to know, like
that,
what is that experience?
Why I wanted to go do it. Like the fan base, the organized whole event, and the competition. I mean, it's the best in the world, and for me to go out and win one of these is just like.
So does it
got all my boxes ticked?
I was just going to ask that, like, because does that like set the hook deeper? I mean, is it highly likely that we're going to see you run all of those deals in 2023? Because I've talked to a lot of racers, and I have to be careful how this is said, but this show and Drag Illustrated, we're kind of built on the back of being honest and authentic, but like people kind of get it twisted. There's just nothing like that experience, right? And that's not that anything else is bad, but it's just that is drag racing's major leagues. And oftentimes once people get exposed to that, it's very hard to go backwards.
It's like a drug. I hate to say it, but it really is. It's like, Scott Tidwell and I had this conversation, at the race, and he's like, "You come to Dallas?" I'm like, "Nah." I said, "I'm not gonna come to Dallas." He's like, "Well, what if you win, you'll come to Dallas?" I'm like, "Man, you're maybe right." But no, I've got some prior commitments already and won't be able to make it. But it's once you win, it's like, okay, well, you go to the next one. If you do good at the next one, you go to the next one. I mean, it's a vicious cycle. And NHRA, it's just the camaraderie and the atmosphere and the vibe there is just unbelievable. It really is. I mean, it's, a lot of guys back in the RPM days, they were griping about the money and having to be involved and having to pay to race and all this stuff. And, I hope, the key people in charge that have higher up roles and getting this class and series going next year. I met with a group of drivers and team owners and whatnot, Friday and Saturday, and kind of overheard some stuff. And it was, it's pretty enticing for next year already. It really is. And I think if we can get some more guys involved, it's just going to be a showstopper, man. It really is. It's an awesome series and an awesome class. And just, the first time I run that car a quarter mile, to finish up my license for, to transition from eighth to quarter. I got out of the car and they're like, well, actually Steve Petty was standing there. He's like, well, what do you think? I said, well, hell, I get to drive the car longer. I said, what do you think? What do you mean? I'm like, it's awesome. It really is. It's cool. And you guys,
if I look at, I was going through the round results here a second ago, and it's like, one thing, a 571 off the trailer in first round, you come back up, go 571 again, go 572 in the semis and 588, largely unopposed. JR went red, 002 red, but your lights were crazy, man. 053, 047, 037, 043. A couple of things. Let's talk about the team. You mentioned Tim Davis, Steve Petty, the whole gang there. That is a wildly consistent race car. And when you start to factor in like what it takes to go that fast in the first place, but then to go that fast 4 times in a row, make those kind of runs. What can you say about that group of guys and the team you have there?
It's just it boils down to the consistency over there. It really is. To be a part of that is something that there's not a lot of people that get to experience that, and I'm quite fortunate of that. to be at that, to race at that level with that kind of equipment and that hardware, dude, I mean, it's just incredible. Jose Gonzalez has put together one hell of a team. And I mean, look what happened last year. I mean, I'm literally driving the car he won the championship in. I mean, and I knew going to the starting line every time I could be calm and cool and collective, how I try to be all the time. And as long as I stayed consistent, I knew the car was there to make it happen, you know. And I mean, it proved me wrong every time. So, you know, you just get a good feeling about everything, and that makes you a lot more comfortable about the situation. And all I had to do was go up there and just stay consistent in my head and make it happen.
What's your process like as far like these reaction times? I mean, we talked about this with Stevie Fast Jackson last Wednesday, but I mean, it wasn't that long ago that like an 070 light's going to get you to the final in Pro Mod. You know,
Sure, yeah.
We had a lot of clutch cars still, and a lot of guys that were kind of, you know, everybody takes this term very offensively and no one means it that way, but they were hobbyists. You know, they only raced 6, 8, 10 times a year, and they were competing against some guys that were racing every weekend, you know, so there was obviously a disparity there. What's your process like? I mean, because these lights are impressive. And I was just like, yesterday I was testing a small tire car that I'm going to race Monday. And it's like cutting a light, being consistent like that. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, what's your process from like behind the water forward?
Well, you know, a lot of people ask me that, and I don't really want to give out the secret sauce. But, you know, I'll be honest with you. I've got this mentality in the back of my head that every round is another qualifying round. I mean, that it's just, I run my own race. I don't give a damn who's next to me. I mean, and that's just the nuts of it. And I mean, I go up there and act like it's a single lane racetrack every time. You know, I just run my race, and that's all I'm worried about. So
there's no like, because it's that's a really impressive deal, dude. And you're a consistently good lever, you know. So you start to wonder like, okay, is this guy in the car like, I don't know, sniffing something, or is he like, you know, what exactly is this, a breathing practice? Is he meditating between rounds?
You know, and I'm not going to go to the start line and play games with anybody. I'm just not going to do it. I think I've raced long enough where everybody knows that. You know, I'm not the one to go up there and play games. I'm going to go up there. I'm going to turn the top bulb on and wait on you to come in. And guess what? I'm going in. I'm not waiting around. I'm not burning anybody down. Because trust me, owning a turbo car over the years, I've been burnt down plenty of times. I know how it is. You know what I mean? And I think that everybody, you know, pretty well respects that and knows that going into it. But playing games doesn't usually win you races. I mean, it's won a few guys some races, and I'm just not going to be one of those guys. I'm not. It
does feel like more often than not, it's problematic, right? I mean, you're now all of a sudden you've kind of opened this can of worms. Now we've seen it pay off, right? Where a guy knows he's covered up, right? Doesn't have a chance, and he's got to do something. We've seen it work, and I understand the Hail Mary last ditch effort, anything you can do to get an edge. Sure. But yeah, it would appear to me that more often than not, doing your own thing, going up there and going through the motions every single time the exact same way is what pays the bills. Daniel, what's your plans for 2023? I mean, you mentioned you're not going to NHRA Dallas. What's your plans for, I guess, the remainder of 2022? And if you don't mind sharing with us, or if you've thought about it, I mean, what are you looking at doing next season?
So I'm not going to do any more NHRA stuff, and you know, with Jose and his camp this year, obviously, because you know Dallas' last race, I can't make it, unfortunately. We've got a few more races left with our Galot car, Andrew and I. So we're going to run Duck's deal at the end of this month, No Mercy. And then we're going to follow that up with Orlando in November. And then that car will be swapped back over to big tires, and we'll run Snowbirds in December. So quite frankly, 3 races left. So hopefully we can go take the bread off that table and see what happens. So next year is looking pretty promising. You know, I like the NHRA deal. The 3 events that I committed to doing this year have just been just unbelievable. It was cool to be able to go to the U.S. Nationals and actually, you know, qualify and make runs. You know, unfortunately, I did go out first round. We had some minor electrical gremlins that we found in the car, but got that all fixed, obviously. And so, but Yeah, NHRA is. I love pro mod racing. I always have. I've always looked up to those guys. You know, Ricky Smith and Mike Castellana. I mean, I remember back when I was, early 20s, like when I had a little 275 car, like I would log in and watch the live feed of NHRA Pro Mod back when RPM was running. It was like, this is so cool. Like, this is awesome. I would love to be able to go do this. And now, I could literally sit here and like carry this guy around with me. And I mean, it's awesome. You know what I mean? Like, it's an awesome feeling to be able to go over there and run in that big of a crowd. And that takes me to another note too. St. Louis sold out. And you would not believe the amount of people that were in the stands when Pro Mod ran every single time. It was incredible. Like, I've not seen that many people physically watch Pro Mod ever. Like, the stands were full. Like, fuel would run and they would not leave. They stayed there and watched Pro Mod every time.
I've argued for a long time that I truly believe pro modified drag racing can be and already is a marquee attraction. There are people that believe that it's not,
Well,
but if marketed correctly and if the job is done correctly, I really believe. I mean, look no further than the Street Outlaws. I mean, those guys. I mean, I don't know that it matters, right? If the marketing is done well and the storytelling is done well, I mean, I think Ryan Martin could race whatever. We've seen it. They've got these guys racing dunks.
It's funny you say that, because like what Scott said a while ago, like let's bring Travis Pastrana over. Like, dude, I will pay for him a weekend to show up and put him in a pro mod. Like, just get him there. Like, just somebody get a plane ticket and get him here.
Yeah, I mean, and that we need as much of that stuff as humanly possible, dude.
Yes, it would be so great for not only the sport in itself, but the series, the just everything. I mean, it would tick all the boxes. It would be awesome.
So do you miss the small tire scene? I mean, we are obviously going down to Ducks Race here to kind of round out your season, but it definitely seems like, do you think there's any getting radial tire racing, back to where it was a few years ago? I mean, do you think that
so,
there's...
Yeah, no, I do. I went to Steele, Alabama for the, Donald's deal down there, and we won that. Just had a great turnout, great event, well ran deal. I mean, it's just, we had a lot of fun there.
I heard that from a lot of folks, man. Manny Bajinga called me. He said, man, we got 4 qualifying sessions. Yeah, I mean,
matter of fact, I had to stop for a second I think on Friday and ask Eric Dillard, because I'm like, so did y'all stop building engines and start running races now? Because every one of your employees is here. I mean, Eric was literally standing in the staging lanes directing cars where to go. And I'm like, wow, somebody better get a picture of this.
But that's what it takes, man. I mean, and I think that's kind of like the next thing that needed to happen in radial racing. It's like everything had ratcheted up to the next level. The cars are fast. The teams are legit. The money's big. The crowds are big. But we need to get the organization big. And I think that was like the next bridge to cross. And it sounds like it's been crossed. So maybe, maybe that's what kind of keeps this deal headed in the right direction for a little longer, or extends its life.
I think that's what's going to potentially grow that deal into being back as big as it was back, 5-6 years ago. I mean, I think you're going to get some RVW cars start popping back up, us being one of them, especially for these last 2 races. I think he'll have a pretty good turnout at No Mercy. I really do. A lot of the guys ducked away because they just thought the class was dead when we went 49. But, I mean, I can't do that every pass, so. But yeah, I think there's a lot of potential, not just in, the faster classes, but I mean, like the Ultra Street. I mean, that class is huge. I mean, it's awesome. X275. I mean, there was full field down there, I think. I mean, it's pretty good deal. I mean, he's done very well with it, and it's good to see those cars and everybody out still running.
I agree, man. I think small tire drag racing is one of the, the coolest communities that exist in our sport, and they need that, and I'm glad to see a touring series. I'm glad to see a championship series.
I did, and that's why we went back to that deal and stopped running pro mod with the other cars. I had always enjoyed one of those races, and I thought, there's 3 races left. let's just put this thing back on small tires and just, you know, when the air does come to us, let's just see what this tire will take. I just want to see how fast we can go. You know.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing it, Daniel. I appreciate you taking some time on your Wednesday afternoon to shoot the breeze with us here. Congratulations, man. You've had a hell of a run in 2022, and we can't wait to see what happens next. You're always great. Look forward to seeing you probably in Valdosta. All right, buddy? Stay out of trouble. Be safe, and congrats again, okay?
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Daniel.
All right,
guys, I want to remind you all that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by way of FlowRacing.com. If you're a drag racer or a drag racing fan, you got to get on board with Flow Racing. The world leader in live sports streaming, Flow Racing provides unlimited access to drag racing's biggest events like Donald Long's Lights Out, No Mercy, and Sweet 16, every stop on the PDRA and NMCA tours, as well now as the Midwest Drag Racing Series, Funny Car Chaos, World Cup Finals, Street Cars, Super Nationals, and much, much more. The platform provided by Flow Racing is changing drag racing for the better, and there's no limit to the good they can do in this sport. So log on to flowracing.com today and join the movement. Mike, JT, it's been a good one, right? I mean, I love talking about drag racing.
Yeah, that was a fun conversation. And I love hearing about Pro Mod kind of being elevated for that weekend. And I wonder if the crowd response maybe played into that. I wonder if NHRA noticed that as well and decided. It sounds like just due to Pharris and his team waiting for JR Gray to complete their turnaround and then being the last cars on the track, it could be as simple as that. But I wonder if there's more to it, and I wonder if we're going to see it again.
Hope so.
I hope so. You never know, right? Because sometimes those things happen, and I want to like believe with every ounce of my being that it was a calculated, conscious decision. You know, like I'm going, oh, please say that those files weren't included in the upload accidentally. Please say that throwing him on the bus with Robert Height and Steve Torrance and Erica Enders and Matt Smith was on purpose. I hope that was the case, and I hope, because to be honest with you, I really don't think it would take much more than that. I mean, we've heard it. Definitely. I don't know that you need to change it to 8th mile. I don't know that you need to pay twice as much money. I think you got to treat these guys well, make them feel like they're appreciated.
At the events where they don't have all 4 pro classes. We've talked about that. I think it was Brainerd, where they only had 2 on that truck going back up there. Why not throw the Pro Mod guy in there too? You
Absolutely.
know, to round that out, especially in that situation. I think they should take a hard look at that.
Well, I'll tell you this: if they don't throw them on the Camping World truck in Dallas, they'll burn the place down. Now you've now you've opened that can of worms, and you will not be able to get the lid back on it.
There's no reason why they shouldn't. I mean, and they should have a long time ago, to be honest with you. So
I agree. I mean, I don't see any harm in it. To be honest with you, there have been things happen in the past where, like, I remember at one point in time, and this actually happened relatively recently, where the NHRA like shut down some hospitality in the Pro Mod pits. And while it pisses me off, I also understand that there's a lot of competing agendas, right? You've got the professional racing organization or racers organization. You got NHRA. Everybody's trying to take care of their own, and they're going, hey, if this company XYZ can have a hospitality tent in the Pro Mod pits for a fraction of what they're spending over here in Pro Stock or Top Fuel or Funny Car or what have you, that's a problem. You know, so I understand some of it, but things like this where you can be nice, be decent.
Yeah.
That's easy, man.
The hospitality thing might be changing too, because we saw Stan Shelton had a big tent, a hospitality tent in his pits at Charlotte. Now, I think maybe the rules are it's not company hosted, or maybe it was just for
I think there can be one. I think is how they do it, is that there can be one.
Okay.
And which, again, I can understand it kind of, but man, when you're struggling for participation, I'm not saying you got to break, but I think there are times that you need to bend. You know, like bend, don't break. You know, you don't have to just throw it in and, you know, give it all away, give away the farm. But I do think you can make some concessions and give and take, right? That's what the NHRA in many ways I think has lacked over the years. And don't get me wrong, you can't turn over the keys. You can't let the inmates run the asylum. I get it, all the cliches, but I do think you can work with these people to make them feel appreciated, to make them feel valued. Our next guest here on today's episode of the West Buck Show.
Before we move on, though, they're already on the. I mean, they're on the big stage, as far as the fans are concerned, they're part of the big show, so just ignoring them at the very end of it or whatever doesn't play well in your favor. So go ahead and put these guys up there on the stage with them, because the fans, I mean, and we see it all the time, the fans just begging for it and clamoring for it. So just do it. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything, really.
No, and I mean, I think the point I was going to make is like our next guest here, Keith Haney, the founder of the Midwest Drag Racing Series. That organization is built almost entirely on the back of taking good care of racers.
Yep.
I was at a race last fall in Tulsa, Oklahoma, at the track that Keith Haney's partners on with Todd Martin, and there was rain. It had poured rain, and it was raining again, and it was an interesting thing because I don't know that I'd ever seen anything like it. Keith got the whole group of racers, mandatory meeting. Everybody showed up under a tent, and it was like, we're going to have a conversation about what we're going to do and why we're going to do it, and it was that level of transparency and communicating with the racers, and again, treating them like human beings, showing them some respect. And I had a multitude of races. They ultimately decided to can the day, to call it a day, and live to race another day. We'll shut this event down, and we'll do double points. I can't remember exactly what happened, but my point is just that level of communication and that level of transparency and just respect for the other people there was. I turned around and I see Jim and Annie Whiteley, and I see Todd Martin, who's obviously involved, and I see the Oaksis camp and all these other guys, and they all massively appreciate Ed Thornton, all these guys that have traveled a great distance to be here. They appreciated that transparency and the respect shown by the organization. So, man, it's the ultimate takeaway is that treating people right is never the wrong decision. So, without any further ado, let's bring on the founder of the Midwest Drag Racing Series and the promoter of this coming weekend's Throwdown at T-Town, perhaps the biggest drag racing event that happens in Oklahoma every year, the one and only Keith Haney. What's up, Keith?
What's up, guys?
Oh, man, swinging and ducking. You know how it goes, man. You know how it goes. You sell any cars today?
Actually, yeah, they're doing a good job. I'm not. I'll turn it around and let you look. Yeah, I think there's plenty of them out there doing something.
How's the car business right now?
That car's business has been good. It's been great. It's been wonderful. If you want to know the truth, when your supply is high or your supply is down and your demand is high, it's kind of hard not to have kind of not have good times right now. Mainly struggle is parts and service more than anything else. So just like no different than the drag racing world, we struggle with parts and being able to fix people's cars. So that's
what do you make of like the Carvana and all that stuff? I mean, do you think that I'm kind of going down a different path, but I just want to ask you because I find it interesting. Mike and I talk about this all the time, but do you think that stuff's got staying power? Do you feel like is the car buying process changing dramatically?
Get ready.
Oh, well,
No.
Get ready
like
because
that
the world is changing. It's changing in a drastic measure. Electric cars, whether you like it or not, they're coming. You're going to deal with them. It's going to be interesting to see who builds the biggest electric box to go down a drag racing strip. Is it going to make any noise? Vroom, vroom, bing, bing. I don't know. But unfortunately, the world is coming to that. Hopefully we can all work and empower to keep the motorsports side, Antron Brown did a good job with, going up to the Senate. And then, of course, we've been doing a lot on our side, General Motors and all that, because they're kind of ISIS cards now. I'm not. I'm calling them gas power and electric power. That's what it is. But, we're spending, I can't really give you millions of dollars changing over to electric. Unfortunately, we have to do it. And, that's the way the world's going. So the buying online is gotten, with COVID and everything that's happening, people buying online not even looking at the car, they buy it online. They know what it is.
Or building a car. That's like the customization of everything. It's like the model of having a bunch of cars on the lot. Everyone wants to build their own online and then go pick it up, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to test drive it before I buy it, though, right? I mean, it's like marriage.
Believe it or not, there's just people that want to buy online. And there's just as many people that want to go into the store, touch it, feel it, smell it, enjoy the process of having a salesperson, meeting the service departments and all that. So I think it's going to be a while, but I mean, obviously it's coming. So
I talked to a chick. I talked to this girl who works at Tesla, or she worked at Tesla, and she was a commission-based salesperson, right? And she was like very good at her job. And I guess there was like a nationwide or whatever, a company-wide, and I'm kind of talking, this is just, I'm paraphrasing, right? But they told me, or she told me that Tesla sent, I don't know if everybody got this memo, but it was like a memo that had something to do with taking their sales force off commission and just giving them a salary, right? And this girl goes, no, like the whole reason I got into selling cars is for that commission, which, Keith, you and I sales guys, I mean, that's the whole game. Like, give me a big commission. I don't care about the base. I want a big commission because I'm confident that I can sell shit. But she told me that Tesla believes that the car salesman is over. That's literally what they told them, that like, hey, look, these cars sell themselves. You're order takers. So we're not going to pay commission anymore. And she quit. Do you think that that's true? Because I'm with you. Like, anytime I buy a vehicle, I want to deal with somebody. I want to have somebody take care of me, not necessarily rub my back, but I want kind of a personalized experience. So, but do you think that the car salesman of yesteryear, is that job going away? Good to hear.
Okay. Not going away. What's going away is I think a lot of the manufacturers moving forward, when electric cars hit the market, they'll all I believe they'll all have one pricing, and then the salesman will have to get paid whatever that percentage is that we decide to if that comes to effect, we'll have to figure out how to pay that salesperson where it's a good profit. Obviously, warranty gaps, things like that. We're fortunate enough that we take care of our salespeople on the front and the back, so it's kind of a total deal, and it's why we have very little turnover in the sales department. But I think Tesla and some of those other manufacturers that are coming out with electric cars that are, doing away with the dealership side, they think that way, but car business is no different than running right next to a race car. You want to hear it, you want to feel it, you want to touch it. If you're like me, I'm not going to buy anything online when it comes to a automobile without.
We lost you, Keith. We lost your audio. Uh-oh. We lost Keith's audio, T.
I think he got a call.
Oh, that's guaranteed. That's what happened. Did you get a call?
I did just now.
Okay. Anyways, well, I'm glad to hear that, because it's something that, it's funny because for 15 years since we started the magazine, I've been having people tell me that print is dead. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's old. No, it's not. Matter of fact, our circulation's stronger today than it was 15 years ago. And it's the experience, right? It's about that experience. Yeah. Can you hear me now? There we go. You have AT&T? Yeah. No, I'm just joking. So I got to rise out of mic in the green room there. Oh my goodness. Log off, kick him off and come back on, Keith. There we go. There we go. Well, maybe we got him back. Do we got you back now? Nope.
He may have to turn his notifications off,
Yeah, I don't know.
There. Hello.
Are you there? Yeah, we got you back.
Put it on focus.
I don't know how to turn my dang phone off. Stop calling me.
Oh my God. Who is it? Is it racers? So let's talk about the drag race real quick. So we're
4 phone calls and it's all racers.
Yeah, no surprise. So let's talk about the throwdown at T-Town, man. This is one of the biggest events. This is like your marquee happening at Tulsa Raceway Park. What do we got on deck for this weekend? We're down to the last couple of races for 2 races left in the Midwest Drag Racing Series season. Had a hell of a year, in all honesty. What do you make of, what's your expectations for this weekend?
Well, let me tell you what, if you haven't looked at the forecast, you probably need to. I think there'll be some records broken this weekend. Our highs on Saturday is 70. Our high on Friday, I think, is 75, and it's 71 on Saturday. it's going to be a tremendous fast race for every single combo when it comes to Midwest. I think you'll see some track records broke. Not really so much track records, just series records broke. You got Jimmy Bradshaw coming in to do track prep. Jimmy Bulls is kind of taking on another role to make sure that he handles everything at our event because it's Tulsa. So there's a lot of things that he has to do. But this event is, we're going into our 30th one. Todd and I have been putting them on a long time, and we do 2 a year, and we'll see. I'm not kidding you. We'll see. Pharris said it the other day. He said he hadn't, or a while ago, he said that he hadn't seen that many people watch Pro Mod. Well, he's wrong, because Tulsa has it every May and every October. The stands are packed on both sides. We have upwards of anywhere from 15 to 30,000 people, depending on what's going on. That's what we'll have for the weekend. We're expecting a big turnout for this one. We've always had people know when the throwdown is. If fair's going on right now, they don't care. They know where the throwdown is. So the throwdown's just kind of beating everybody's head, and everybody wants to be a part of it. Where Flo is with Mav TV is doing the live streaming for the first time. They're going to see the stands. You get to see the people. And when you come around, for me as a racer, put me on the racer side now. For me as a racer, I come around that corner, I see all them people in the stands. It makes it fun. No different probably Daniel felt when he pulled around and St. Louis. We're partnered with them too, with the Midwest. And when you pulled around and seen that place packed, you're like, wow, this is awesome. And that's what we need when it comes to pro mod racing. And the throwdown gives them that. We had it at. Nobody's seen US 131. I think some people may have, but US 131.
Oh, the place was packed to the gills.
15,000 plus people there, and it was packed. If you go to Extreme, there's always a lot of people at Extreme. We have a few races that that don't have as many, but again, they're trying to get that way. And as Pro Mod continues to evolve the way it has, at least in the Midwest side, it's evolved a ton. Different combos and everything. I will tell you this, Pharris, you haven't won a Midwest Pro Mod Series race. I can tell you that. But
Keith's got to make it a competition. Hey, listen, we need all these things to be successful. You know what I mean?
Stuff, but he ain't won a race.
It's good for all these things to be doing well. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing that I think is important in our sport. Is it's like when I see New Prep Kings doing really well, when I see Midwest doing well, PDRA doing well, NMCA is having a banner year in 2022 as well. NHRA's had 9 sellouts by our count. I think they're only reporting 7. We're reporting 9. But regardless, hearing any drag strip sell out, seeing crowds, significant crowds at drag strips, like you mentioned, US 131. I talked to Jason Peterson the other day, and he's like, dude, this place was absolutely bananas. That's what we need. I had a conversation with a guy many moons ago. Mike and I were actually, I think we were in Los Angeles, and we were meeting with a dude in the motorsport space, and he made a really valid point. He said he goes, what's the most important thing to drag racing? And before we could even open our mouths, and I don't think we were going to give the right answer, but he goes, successful promoters. And it's true, because what we need, tracks, sanctioned series, making money, doing well, because if they're not, how are they going to improve the track? How are they going to pay more money? How are they going to provide more value to the racers? We need promoters being successful.
And I'm different. I'm a different promoter. Yes, I co-own Tulsa with Todd, so I know the track side of it. And the Midwest is totally different than the NHRA, the PDRA, the NMCA, the IHRA, the whatever the new one that's coming out. Whatever that one is. I think it's WDRA.
Yeah, WDRA.
But our structure is all about the racetrack. There's no arguments with me and Chris Blair at St. Louis or Great Bend or Memphis or Tulsa or whatever. They get everything. We come in, we give them our money. They guarantee us a purse for our classes, and they keep it all. So our structure is a little bit different, and every place that we've been to has made money, and that's what it's all about. There's only a few people that live out of the Midwest Drag Racing Series, and we really only have two full-time employees, and those are the people that are living out of it, and the sponsors that help us and all that stuff. But it's all more about the track, us having a place to race. I mean, go all the way back 6 years ago. Midwest was just a dream. I'm sorry, just starting. In our first race, we had 9 race cars. 9. And everybody laughed at us and said, it's never going to work. And nobody thought a screw car, and I'm going to say it now, nobody thought a screw car at 75 over was ever going to be competitive. You never can run a screw car at 75 over. It's not going to happen. No way. It's always got to be 127 over, because that's what they think. Fast forward to 6 years later, NHRA followed suit with Midwest. I'm sorry, but they did. They followed suit and allowed a screw in at 75 over.
And now it's quickly becoming the like combination of record, right? Like that's what people.
Nobody ever thought that. Fast forward it, we've got 22 or 21, maybe 22. If the guy comes, I got to find out. He called me while I was sitting here. We have 21 confirmed pro mods in Tulsa. 21.
That's a big field, buddy.
We've been averaging 24. We have that race where we only have 18 or 17. You have those races, but for the most part, we have 20 plus pro mods. And that, for me, my goal's 20. I want 20 at every single pro mod race. If you take that times the entry fee, times the guests that the crew they bring, the purse that we pay out, the track gets to make money. I mean, that's how I look at the math. Same thing with Top Sportsman, Top Dragster, killing it. They've had a great turnout. I think they had, like, between the two classes, the last race, they had 40 something. That's what we're looking for. So, I mean, the juniors, oh my God, juniors, I think we had 40 at the last race, but had a lot of them. But, ours is all about when I'm talking about the series side of it, the track side, we want the racetracks to make money, and we feel like our structure does that for them. We're not a sanctioning body that has membership fees and all those things, although we should, but we don't, Midwest is just awesome. I love it. I'm glad that I have the staff of people that I have that are running it, because I haven't been able to put the time into it. I got a family, a kid. My son's playing football, no different than your son is. I don't want to miss anything. Todd has made it like Todd Martin didn't race a few of our races this year because he committed to his son. So having that time off in June and July, people love that. So our series is kind of about the racer, for the racer. Just like you had said, we were in Memphis when we had that get together about, it's just the track's not safe. We can't race on it. There's too much rain and moisture coming up through the track. It wasn't the track. It wasn't their fault. It was just,
right.
It was underwater 3 days prior to coming, and we worked and did everything we could. And I finally just said, we're just not, I'm not sending another car down the racetrack. We're not going to wreck anybody. And everybody appreciated it. And then we went to Tulsa and then we had rain in Tulsa. I don't know if you remember we were supposed to do that race Thursday night or Friday night. I think it was Thursday night. And it rained out, and I pulled all the racers together and said, hey, everybody got their one hit at the racetrack. We're going racing tomorrow. And everybody loved it. And we did it. And we completed both those. And just like this weekend coming, starting tomorrow, we'll be racing just so everybody knows. You'll be able to watch it free tomorrow night on our YouTube channel, on Midwest Drag Racing Series YouTube channel. You'll be able to watch the Great Bend makeup race, the Ronnie Hobbs. We lost Ronnie Hobbs at that race, so we're making up that race. And you'll be able to watch it free, and then it goes to Flow Sports on Friday and Saturday. I'm sorry, Mav TV and Flow together goes on their platform on Friday and Saturday during qualifying. But excited about this weekend and the series and everything that's come on. I appreciate you having us on. It's been a minute. I don't talk as much as I used to online. I don't jibber and jabber. I've got a lot going on personally with businesses. And
how are you excited to go racing this week? I mean, tabling, like, are you excited to get back behind the wheel? I mean, and go drag racing?
I can't wait. The problem I had this year is I have stunk it up on the tree. I've had more whole shot losses in the last year and a half than I've ever had in my life. I don't know if I need a freaking pair of glasses or what it is, but I just pure suck at the tree right now. And I hope this weekend I make a comeback. Make a comeback. I won it last year. I don't know if you know that, but I went to the finals semis on the first race against Jim Whiteley. I don't know if you remember, and it was like 1,000 difference on the first.
Yeah, I remember. I was there. Yeah,
that was the makeup race, and then I won the actual throwdown last October. Went from the number 1 spot and won it. So
the coolest thing that I think exists over in the Midwest Series right now, and we were talking about this to start the show, is that it's looking like there's not going to be any nitrous cars competing in the NHRA, unless something changes, and hopefully it does. But it is cool to see a really solid mix of cars in the Midwest Drag Racing Series. We got competitive nitrous cars, we got competitive turbo car. You can never count out Ed Thornton and that whole crew, Shane T. And you've also got pro charge cars, roots blown cars, screw blown cars. It's a really eclectic mix, man. And I appreciate you coming on here and spending some time chatting with us. Do you think you got what it takes in those conditions? You're going to need, what are we going to see? 360 something?
Here you talk about nitrous and NHRA's having a problem with it. We, whether you believe it or not, we have that same problem in the Midwest, and NMCA has that same. They've opened up I don't know if you've seen today, they opened up a timeline about, hey, tell us what's your thoughts on the rules, send us an email. We struggle that same thing. Now, everybody thinks, well, Keith owns the series. Okay, this is a good one. Keith owns the series so he can make the rules. I was talking to a guy yesterday, and he'll tell you, I'm non-biased. I'm a nitrous guy, 100 true. I'm not leaving the program. I talked to Pat Musey. I've talked to Brandon Schweitzer. How do we evolve nitrous? Because what's happened is there ain't enough of us to go and help change the combo, whether you've got to, and I'll say it, whether you got to go to a bigger bore space or you got to go to, there's things that can help evolve the class, but no, you don't have enough of us to do it because it costs millions of dollars. You know that. And with the screw, it's it's been the same way for the last 25,000 years. You can take a 4.8 bore space motor and a screw and go 60s. I mean, it's easy, but I tell everybody I got to work on my program. Brandon does a wonderful job, and he's constantly trying to figure out how do we go faster? And I'm going to give it 100% every time. I think I should go 62 this weekend. That's what I think. I've been 65 last year at Extreme, our first race of the year. I went 65, and I'm going to have better conditions this weekend. Now, I should go 62, maybe 5. I mean, I want to go 50 something if I can, but we don't know. Nitrous car has a little different playing field. It's going to be just as good for a screw car and a pro charger, turbos, everything. This weekend's going to be great for all of us. The air is going to be there. Everything's perfect. All the lines every line's going to be just set up for each combo to run their absolute best. So I think I got what it's take this weekend. If you want the truth, I just got to make sure I don't lose on another dang hole shot.
Well, hey man, I honestly think it's good to acknowledge because this stuff's way harder than it looks. You know what I mean? And you think about the guys like the Daniel Pharrises and some of these dudes that are able to pull it off time and time again. It's an impressive thing, and we're excited to see what happens, bro.
I could go and buy a pro charger setup right now, go out and be number 1, win all the races, do all the stuff. I'm true to my program and nitrous. I'm true to Brandon Schweitzer. He's been with since day one. I had a memory pop up today that I was in Norwalk, 2012. I'm going to say it. ADRL drags. I didn't remember which one it was, but it's 2012. I was in Norwalk this weekend in 2012. How long ago was that? 10 years ago.
Yeah, man.
With the slow mods, I called them. 4.0 was fast. Now it won't even sniff a qualifying sheet.
It's true, man. This deal's come a long way in a short amount of time. Unbelievable. Well, Keith, thanks for joining us, man. I wish you the best of luck. Be safe this weekend, and we'll be waiting to see that 362 pop up on the board, all right?
Come on, tune in on YouTube, Midwest, this tomorrow, and you can watch the the Great Bend Race live.
Sounds like a plan, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Keith. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Oh, shit. I dropped my pen. Hey, gang, I want to remind you all one more time that the Wes Buck Show is brought to you by way of our friends at Redline Synthetic Oils, as well as Stroud Safety, Flow Racing Equipment, Sand Haulers of America, Elite High Performance, Holly Performance Products. JT, Mike, how many sponsors? We gotta get them all mentioned. I was just trying to run through the list here. But anyways, the most important component of this show each and every week, as you guys well know, is all of y'all. Unbelievable turnout today and always, man. It's really trying to turn the corner. It's really impressive what has happened here, and we couldn't do it without each and every one of you guys. Man, what do you think?
It's awesome.
We got to talk about what's coming up. Not this weekend, but next weekend.
Oh, yeah,
what
dude.
we're doing
Busy,
all next
right?
week,
Dude. Are you guys excited?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right, T.
I have to mentally prepare myself to spend the week with JT, but other than that, I'll be okay.
You probably need to go to the doctor and get
I
some
probably
medication.
should. I need like an IV on tap.
Yeah, man. Get on Amazon, and there's this stuff called like liver
IV.
support.
Oh yeah, liver support.
Oh,
That's
we've
what-
got that. I hooked Mike up with Cheers. It's like you take it after you drink.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and it gives you the liver, what it needs. I mean, it's.
Oh,
I don't
hey,
know.
dude.
I may
see.
need to take the whole bottle or something.
Check
but-
this out. Hold on one second. Look at this thing that look at this thing Sam Smith got me for my birthday.
Oh,
I saw
sweet.
that in the
I wonder.
background.
I
Yeah, I
wonder
saw
where
it
that
in
came
the
from.
background.
Dude, it's a giant metal sign that's like laser cut, right?
I
And it's
thought
the
it was a
World
small
Door Slammer
decal.
Nationals logo. Yeah.
That's pretty sweet, man.
Yeah,
That is
dude.
awesome.
Shout out to Sam Smith. Just not totally disappointed that it was the only birthday present I got in the mail. But it is what it is.
Is that a dig at us?
Hint.
JT?
Hint.
I guess so, but
Hint.
my birthday was June 7th, and I don't think I got a present either. So
Well, your
gift is
paycheck
that,
was a
your
present.
gift is that JT and I are descending upon Fort Worth for a week.
Oh
So,
my goodness.
that's-
My wife, she's like, oh my God, next week's going to be so busy. Oh my goodness. And I'm like, you're just worried that JT's coming. We're going to party all night, every single night.
That's what
And
I'm
it's going to
worried
be a
about.
disaster.
that's right. I'm going to get a hold of your phone. I'm going to block her. First thing I'm going to do.
Dude,
Gonna be
I
real
think
happy.
I'm excited because Monday night, I mean, the Stampede of Speed, let's give it up for these guys because I think we did a good job last year. I mean, the effort that goes into doing something every single night of the week. I mean, we talk about it a lot that it's one thing to put on a race once a year. It's a whole other thing to put on a race 8, 10, 12, 24 times a year. But it's a whole other thing to put on a race for 7 or 8 days versus one that lasts 2 or 3. This deal,
Yep.
it's insane the way it kind of takes over the community. Waxahachie, Ennis, everywhere, all these surrounding small towns dive into this deal. They're excited about it. We're going to have Sunday night, they're going to have a country music contest, a barbecue cook-off, all sorts of stuff. Then on Monday night, we've got Scott Palmer's Top Fuel or Nitro Sideshow, as well as a Cheap Street Shootout that I'm going to be participating in. On Tuesday, we've got the Door Slammer Shootout. Wednesday, they're going to have protesting. Thursday, they've got Fan Fest. I talked to Elon Warner earlier this week, or actually late last week. I think they've got 40 drivers, 40 plus, that have committed to attend the Fan Fest. I've never heard that many drivers showing up, that many professional drivers showing up to support
before
those
that,
functions.
Also on Wednesday, you've got
Oh, yeah.
Champions Dinner.
Yeah, Champions Dinner on Wednesday, which they're looking to kind of turn into the Masters Banquet, I think it's called, or the Masters Dinner, something where it's like a annual get together. Everybody dresses up. It's a plated dinner. It's a big deal. Photo ops with past event champions. There's
When
going to
is
be a
that?
lot of celebrity. That's Wednesday night. We're going to that. It'll be immediately kind of following the Wes Buck Show, man.
We
We're
have to dress up.
broadcasting the show. You don't have to. You can if you want.
Let's go get cowboy hats, dude. I want to get cowboy boots
I
and a
bought
cowboy hat.
I've got a new hat.
I want to find
got a
the
hat.
biggest cowboy hat I can find. At
That's
the
what my
stockyards.
buddy Josh did. Like we went to the store, and I'm looking for, I've got the exact one. I've got it pictured in my head. He looks at the guy and goes, "What's the biggest, most obnoxious hat you got?" Like almost like the old foam styrofoam
Yeah.
hat.
Hey,
He found
man, there's
one.
no shame in that. I'm
Yeah.
looking for a what's his name from Yellowstone? Gosh dang it.
Rip.
I'm looking for the Rip hat.
It's because Alicia's a big Rip fan. You're trying to play
I'm a
into
big
that.
Rip fan,
Yeah, it's gonna
to be honest.
role-playing.
Yeah.
Just some role plays coming at the house.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm down.
Yeah,
You know,
six
it is what it
shooters.
is. Yeah, I'm down for that. That's the Steve Torrance. Pow, pow, pow. Did you see somebody mention Steve Austin, Stone Cold Steve Austin? I don't know that we can call. I think we could call Steve Torrance Stone Cold Steve Torrance or the Texas Rattlesnake. I think we're going to start calling him the Texas
like
Rattlesnake. Man, big fan. What else do we got going on? The show next Wednesday is going to be fantastic. I do believe we're going to have Billy Meyer live. This guy has done an insane amount for the sport of drag racing. The Texas Motorplex itself, former owner of the IHRA.
Yep.
I can't wait to have him on the show.
Probably
his daughter
Christy too, right?
Yeah, his daughter Christy will join us as well. I'm looking to bring Scott Palmer back. We'll have access to pretty much everybody that's on the property. So who knows?
We might
May
just
show
have
up next
we
Wednesday.
might just
Clay
have
Milliken.
just roll through of
A
guests.
rotisserie, you
Yes.
know. Couple things I want to cover real quick that we didn't get to talk about, but huge shout out to Vic Alvarez and the gang at Bradenton Motorsports Park, the people behind FL2K. For those of you that don't know, Bradenton, along with much of Florida, was devastated by Hurricane Ian, and the track still to this day doesn't have power. Vic Alvarez dug deep, made phone calls, leaned on his network of friends. One in particular, Garrett Mitchell, a.k.a. Cletus McFarland, who helped bridge the gap between Vic and the NHRA, the owners of Gainesville Raceway Park in Gainesville, Florida, which made it possible for FL2K to go on. What a tough situation so many race promoters find themselves in. And I it's not lost on me. Every weekend I think about how many people are looking at the forecast sweating bullets, right? How many people are, watching online ticket sales, sweating bullets, trying to make this thing make sense. And I was heartbroken when I saw, obviously for everybody that was impacted by this storm. But, when it's my drag racing family, it cuts deep, right? And it broke my heart to think about FL2K perhaps being canceled. Who knows what was gonna come next? And to see this all happen and the work that's gone on into this, the effort that has been put into making sure this event carries on. It's the biggest event of the year for Bradenton Motorsports Park. So huge kudos to those guys for getting this deal done, right? I mean, Can you imagine promoting a race for a decade at your track? It's a track that you've worked, dug, scraped, clawed to own, spent $1 million probably in 2022 improving it, new concrete, new bleachers, doing all these things. And then the biggest event of the year, when you want to showcase all the improvements that you've made this season, gets impacted by an act of God. It broke my heart.
And we welcomed a new baby this week too.
Yeah, he had a kid 2 days ago. It's incredible. And from what I understand, I talked to Vic this morning, and mom and baby are healthy and happy and headed home. And Vic was headed out of the hospital into Gainesville Raceway Park to get prepared for FL2K. I intend to have Vic on the show next week to give us what I hope to be a rave review about his experience at Gainesville Raceway Park. He said it has been fantastic. I think this is a great thing. Again, it's easy to bag on NHRA, but here they are coming to the rescue. Carte blanche, whatever you need, however we can help. They own that facility, and they've kicked their doors wide open for Vic and the streetcar community. So shout out, kudos to the NHRA and everybody involved, the ownership management group there at Gainesville Raceway Park. I'm glad to see this place be invaded by all sorts of turbo Lambos and Vipers and all these super fast streetcars, man.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Those events are really cool too.
Yeah, I'm kind of missing going to one, to be totally honest. It's been a hot minute since we've been to like one of those fast outlaw streetcar shootout type of deals. You know what I mean? Like we need to go back to a streetcar takeover.
Yeah.
And
takeover's cool. Yeah,
and a drag and drive. I'm looking forward to Sick Week.
Dude,
already.
Speaking of drag and drive, did you see Tom Bailey's post on Facebook yesterday or the day before? Like, they're contemplating doing 2 more events. Not only would they do Sick Week in Florida in the Southeast United States, they're talking about Death Week, which would be out like in Death Valley, Reno, Nevada, Las Vegas, LA.
That's what I'm calling next week, hanging out with JT.
Death Week. Yeah.
Death
and
Week.
then
That'd be fun to go on. Like,
dude,
if you haven't been, like, we go out west, but a lot of times, you don't see a lot of things out there. That'd be pretty cool. Travel around out there. Yeah, we get stranded though.
And what's the other one? What's the third one?
I'm trying to think of what the name is. Sick Week. So they're thinking about Sick Week, Death Week. Hold on, let me see if there's. homepage. Let's see, get on the wait list. Oh man, there's no. Well, the other one they're considering doing, and basically what they're doing is putting out feelers. But they're finding they want to do one in like the Wisconsin, Illinois area, kind of like a Chicago, St. Louis type of deal. And man, I was talking to Alicia about it, my wife, this morning, because just what does that say about the industry that someone is considering? Sick Week is in year one. That event just happened for the first time in February, March 2022, and they're already looking at tripling the amount of events they do in the second year. It's unheard of, to be honest. And to me, it speaks to the demand that exists out here. It speaks to the adventure that is drag racing. And it's another reminder that no matter how hard this stuff can be, it's also a blast to go be around passionate people that see the world kind of the same way you do. And I can't help but feel like, shit, I got to figure out how to go be a part of all three of these things now, because I'm already freaking out that I may or may not be able to go on Sick Week next year, because that was genuinely, if I look back at the whole year, this is probably my favorite event of the year so far.
Why can't you go on Sick Week?
Well, because we might be putting on a race like 2 weeks later. So
you can do
I
it.
see it here, but I just don't see the name of it.
Now you got to look it's on the Sick Week Facebook page.
I thought Sick Week was early February last year.
I thought it was late February.
I can't remember.
All right, I'm on their website. Hold on, I'll look. Sick Week, sick information, events. Oh, wait, maybe I should go to so it's Friday. Oh, no. It's early February. Oh, we're golden.
Mike's
it's the 12th through the 17th. You're right, like 74% of the time.
Way more than that, bud.
Like, he didn't even have to think. Way more than that. Way more than that.
That's Super Bowl week, though. Super Bowl week.
Oh, here we go. So they're looking at Sick Summer, which would be tentative dates would be June 5th through 9th, right? And Cordova, the tentative tracks would be Cordova, which badass, Tri-State Raceway, Byron Dragway, one of my all-time favorite drag strips, and then Great Lakes Dragway. That would be really cool. They're targeting like June 5th through 9th for that one. And then they're also talking about Death Week being, which, shout out to Tom Bailey for having like significant balls when it comes to naming these things, right?
You had Sick Week and Death Week. I was waiting for what that third one was.
I mean, I can't wait to see what the decal looks like, right? It's going to be the helmet with both eyes X'd out, Death Week, November 20th, after November 2023. They're targeting after SEMA, which I love that, because that's very doable for a whole lot of people. I mean, obviously it's way out west, so that's a challenge. But like for those of us that like just want to like be a part of it.
But yeah, tying it in with the NHRA race being out there, then SEMA, and
except for I went to see my kids for about a month.
Yeah, but true. It does lend itself to having better attendance that way.
Yeah, because they've got they're thinking tentative tracks for Death Week would be Las Vegas Motor Speedway, which is probably my third favorite track on the planet. Then Sonoma Raceway, which I've never been to.
We got to go to Sonoma.
It's ridiculous. And then Bakersfield, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Bakersfield?
Classic,
man. I mean, that's like a modern super track, the strip at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. You've got Sonoma Raceway, this, iconic, super fast, well-known, beautiful racetrack. And then you've got like heart and soul, old school 60s, 70s drag racing in Bakersfield. Man, that would be... I just think that would be spectacular. When Tom Bailey put the map on Facebook, I could see it would be a grueling deal. I mean, it's like 1,337 miles, I think.
Everything is spaced far apart out there.
Everything.
And my theory about the globe and the map.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that a little bit.
I don't.
You don't know Mike's theory about it?
I don't think so. If I have,
he's not a flat earther.
I'm not a flat earther.
Mike's hey, listen, he's not alone, because when he told me about that, I didn't know, or told me about this, I didn't know what he was talking about, and I Googled it. But he doesn't think the map's accurate.
It's not. Yeah, the East Coast is way smaller than actually shown, and the West is bigger. But I think we're carrying it forward from old traditions. I think when the Eastern people didn't want the West when it was being developed to look like it was that big. So they scaled it and made it kind of look pretty even. But I don't know.
Oh my God. Jesus.
I love it. Dude, he's not alone. Google it.
There's some truth to this. I really do. I really believe it.
How
Scale is
funny.
just not right.
You can't say there's truth to it because you don't know that it's true. So,
Well, we think it's true. Mike and I think it's true. Man, if you go drive out through the Western United States, it seems
it
endless.
never ends.
It never ends.
In the eastern part of the U.S. is jam packed, tight.
Yeah, like you
Everything
go
is close
5
together.
minutes and you're at the ocean. You know what I mean?
So-
Like
so is our hotel room going to have tinfoil on the windows?
It
next
might.
week?
It might.
what do you
It
guys
might-
think of?
might help with
Is it
hangovers,
funny
too.
how Haney immediately wanted to make it a competition? That's the toughest job that exists here at Drag Illustrated. I think you guys will agree, is that we want all of them to be successful. I want every sanction in series, every racer to be successful. It's funny because that is one of the things that it's so ingrained in drag racers that it's competition. Everything's competition. And it's like, it's tough. You know what I mean? Because the same way I want NHRA to be successful, I want Midwest to be successful. And I think that the truth of the matter is that there's racers to go around and you got to like get in where you fit in, right? Like I think everybody kind of caters to a specific audience. When I think about the Midwest Drag Racing Series, you're catering to guys that he mentioned don't want to race all summer. They want to go boating, right? They want to spend time with their family. They want to do other things. And that's
you'll get
great.
people that race that series that say, I don't want to race NHRA, even if the opportunity presents itself. This is my home. This is where I want to be. PDRA gets a lot of that. I feel like is people are so committed and enjoy what they're doing there that is the pinnacle for them. And I think Keith, Midwest is the pinnacle for him. He's obviously involved in it and had success in it, and he fits that mold as well. But everybody does kind of have a different take on it.
Yeah, it's funny because I was even noticing, I read an article on competitionplus.com. I think you sent it to me. No, Nate sent it. Great article on Justin Swanstrom and the success he's having in No Prep Kings. And I actually meant to talk to...
You mean Jake?
Jake Swanstrom. But Justin Swanstrom, hearing him say that he's earning a living as a professional drag racer in No Prep Kings, I wanted to ask Palmer about this because I don't know how many people are doing that anywhere else. But the reason I brought it up was Bobby Bennett, who interviewed him, asked him, like, if you had a full tilt boogie, fully funded top fuel ride in NHRA, would you pursue that? And he said, nah, I'm good. Right. And I think that's interesting. Right.
That's encapsulates what I was just saying.
Yeah. Because everybody.
Yeah, that goes across a lot of drag racing, but I feel like especially indoor car racing that is true.
I just find that fun. I mean, fascinating that because I've heard Ryan Martin's told me the same thing. I asked him, I said, if you had the opportunity to go run NHRA, would you pursue it? And he's like, I don't really know that I want to go beyond this.
He's getting more started than where he's at.
Yeah. And I just think that this is the first time in the history of drag racing that there is anything happening, anything in the sport of drag racing that rivals NHRA top fuel. Right? I mean, and I think for the first time ever, I mean, you got guys like Alex Laughlin. I mean, here's this dude's pursuing a lifelong dream of racing top fuel. And I'm telling you, that dude is laboring over potentially putting all his eggs in the no prep basket. Even if he had to go race futures and not be, guaranteed a spot in the invitational, even if he had to go spend the next couple of years doing that. And a lot of the reason is it's much more affordable. No matter how expensive it is to go run 15, 16, 17. I'm hearing rumors that No Prep Kings may have 18 events next year. Mike, you might be able to confirm that. But even 15, 16, 17, 18 events of that style, 8th mile outlaw racing, cost-wise, pales in comparison to a full pull of top fuel.
Right.
I mean, it's not even on the same planet.
You're still racing in front of tons of fans.
Similar amounts of money.
You're on TV.
You're probably making more money.
Probably making more money if you get into the invitational and everything. that
Selling
goes with
merch. The merch
and,
sales
yeah,
at
merch.
NPK
And
are
then
insane.
if you were able to get on some of the spin-off shows, I mean, I guess there'd be a lot of room to move up. You know,
It's
if you
where you can
became one of
build
the
a
main
career.
characters and people liked it, I mean, yeah, I think you would.
It's where you can build a career. That's
Yeah.
my argument is if you're Justin Swanstrom, you want to drag race for a living and be kind of like a drag racing celebrity, let's call it.
Yeah.
And have a career and make a good living doing it, then that's the way.
Well,
Whereas
at least you got to do is get in while it's hot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's hot, right? So you don't
Oh,
know
it's-
how long
it's hot.
You don't know how long it's going to last. So you got to get in while you can.
Has it lasted longer than either of you guys thought it would?
I thought it would last, remember?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did actually. We got to give you props on that.
Thank you.
Mike?
I'm surprised. I actually am surprised, but I'm not upset about it. I'm thrilled to turn on Discovery 24 hours a day, and there's 6 different versions of Street Outlaws on there. That to me, everyone says every time we post the NHRA sellout numbers, everyone's like, they can thank No Prep Kings for this. And I think that's a bit of a stretch, but there is a little bit of truth to that, as I like to say.
Helped. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it can't hurt.
Mhm.
I mean, we've said it a lot, but seeing drag racing be part of pop culture has made a huge difference. I use the example of like going to my father's repair shop where people gather to like solve the world's problems. Anytime that we go back to Missouri, you swing by Buck Brothers. And I remember growing up, no one ever came in talking about drag racing ever. Right. But now, anytime I go in there, everybody's like, hey, do you know Lizzie Musey? Do you know Ryan Martin? Do you know Big Chief? Do you know Daddy Dave? And I'm like, holy hell, how is it? But it's that invading pop culture and being a part of the mainstream conversation.
My wife's sister, my wife and I have been together for like 15 years, and her sister's known that I'm involved in drag racing the whole time. But now she's a huge Lizzie Musey fan, and she's got Lizzie Musey merch, and she's going to Rockingham next weekend. And so here's someone that, could have gone to any drag races or been in, been a part of it or whatever, had no idea about it, but Street Outlaws is what tipped the scale.
You would have took her and had her in the pits with you. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty funny because now it's like my wife's asking me, hey, can you get some extra tickets for my sister? She wants to go, and can you get a Lizzie Musey shirt and have it sent to her and all this stuff?
Tell her to send me her credit card number.
Oh man, it's funny.
But it is a cool thing to see, man. It really is. Well, guys, it's been great shooting the breeze with you. A huge shout out to all of you for joining us. Everybody, all of our guests today, Scott Palmer, Daniel Pharris, Keith Haney. Good luck this weekend. Daniel, congrats on all your success in 2022. Not just in 2022. Homeboy's been doing it on a big level for a while. And I can't wait to see Scott Palmer's Nitro Sideshow next Monday night at the Texas Motorplex. Log on to texasmotorplex.com to find out more about the Texas Stampede of Speed. Mike T, appreciate it. Flow Racing, Redline Oil, Stroud Safety, thank you for your support. And guys, we'll see you next Wednesday.
Later, y'all.
Thanks, everybody.
Peace.